Chapter 669. In front of the Pill Emperor Hall, a white-robed figure had his hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the majestic Pill Emperor Hall. The passers-by all had faint smiles on their faces as they stared at him. Was this another junior that revered the Pill Emperor Hall? In front of the Pill Emperor Hall, a silhouette slowly walked over, pointing to Qin Wentian. "You can't stay here any longer, leave quickly." Qin Wentian calmly glanced at them. After which, he slowly walked forwards, ascending the stairs step by step. The Pill Emperor Hall, he had arrived. Impudent. A cold intent flashed in the eyes of those in front of him as they stepped towards Qin Wentian, their auras at the peak of Yuanfu erupted forth. Boom! Qin Wentian stomped heavily on the ground, causing the bodies of those in front of him to be slammed heavily onto the stairs as they coughed out mouthfuls of blood, their countenances turning pale. "Someone dares to barge into the Pill Emperor Hall." An enraged voice thundered out, the expressions of those in front of him were all filled with rage. Barging into the Pill Emperor Hall was simply courting death. The passers-by all had expressions of interest on their faces. There was actually someone who dared to barge into the Pill Emperor Hall. Did he not want his life anymore? Only Xu Ruanyu watched as Qin Wentian ascended step by step, as great waves of shock rocked her heart. Indeed, he was still the same as before, barging into the Pill Emperor Hall alone. Above the Pill Emperor Hall, numerous silhouettes soared through the air. Even before they arrived, a loud voice already rang out, "Who dares to be so impudent? Kill him without mercy." The voice of that person was filled with killing intent. An instant later, the experts arrived, but the instant they saw Qin Wentian, the countenance of that person froze as his countenance paled. His body trembled lightly, as though he had just witnessed an inconceivable scene. He had come, Qin Wentian had returned. Once, when Qin Wentian left, he left behind a cold message. The day he returned would be the day of judgment for the Pill Emperor Hall. Was today the day of judgment Qin Wentian spoke of? They were clearly monitoring the Azure Emperor Palace, and even Fairy Qinmei hadn't left the Azure Emperor Hall. Not only that, all the experts were gathered there. Yet at this moment, Qin Wentian actually appeared in the Pill Emperor Hall. Did he intend to destroy the entire Pill Emperor Hall alone? The others in the surroundings had also seen Qin Wentian before. The instant they saw him, they were so frightened that their bodies trembled, their hearts shattered. This young man had once left a deep impression on them. Once, from afar, they saw Qin Wentian wielding a demon sword and slashing apart that towering great hall. Now, he had returned and he was even stronger than before. He didn't borrow the power of the demon sword and killed Ouyang Mutian, a celestial phenomenon ascendant of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. He used his most powerful attack to kill Ouyang Mutian, and his cultivation base was still at the peak of Heavenly Dipper. He led his men and swept through the three ascendants of the Ouyang aristocrat clan, not leaving a single one alive. He brought his men to the Azure Emperor Palace, and the Azure Emperor Palace Lord personally came out to welcome them. The spectators from afar were all dumbfounded when they saw the reactions of the experts from the Pill Emperor Hall. It was as though they were all extremely fearful of this young man. Could it be? The spectators suddenly thought of a possibility as their hearts pounded. Such a young silhouette that could cause the experts from the Pill Emperor Hall to be so fearful. In the entire Grand Xia, there was only one person. Qin Wentian. The crowd thought of a name as their eyes gleamed with sharpness. That white-robed figure, was that Qin Wentian? He had finally returned and was now alone, ascending the Pill Emperor Hall. Qin Wentian didn't pay attention to the reactions of the crowd. He continued upward step by step, and everywhere he passed by, a tempest of sword qi manifested. Boom! As his foot landed, a sword intent manifested. Momentarily, the experts above Qin Wentian all felt their hearts being pierced by a million swords as their countenances turned as pale as paper. Boom! Another step. The faces of the people on the platform were drained of all color. Their hearts were shattered, and despair could be seen in their eyes. After that, their bodies collapsed, falling onto the stairs and rolling down the stairs. They were already dead. They're all dead. The spectators below gradually gathered as their hearts pounded. That young man who had returned was indeed even more terrifying than before. He continued ascending, there was no longer anyone who dared to block his path. However, the number of experts in the air space above the Pill Emperor Hall only grew more and more as a towering might bore down on Qin Wentian. His astral souls and astral novas all erupted forth, transforming into a tempest of destruction that bore down on Qin Wentian. Kill him. As soon as the order was given, endless windstorms descended. Destructive turbulence appeared in the void, crushing the earth. The destructive power seemed to have transformed into a black windstorm. How terrifying! The hearts of the spectators shuddered. The Pill Emperor Hall had turned out in full force, wanting to kill Qin Wentian. However, at this moment, the white-robed figure inclined his head as he stretched out his palms. In the center of his palms, a resplendent light circulated, as though it could penetrate through the tempest of destruction and the turbulence in the air. That resplendent light transformed into a gigantic palm imprint that could pluck down the sun, moon, and constellations. In the air, at the location where the experts of the Pill Emperor Hall were gathered, an incomparably terrifying gigantic palm imprint manifested, slamming down towards them. With a thunderous boom, it was unknown how many of the experts gathered here died, as the entire area was in chaos. How powerful! He actually became so terrifying. Although the entire Grand Xia was filled with rumors regarding Qin Wentian, when the spectators personally witnessed his strength, they couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief. It was rumored that he was only 28 years of age, how heaven-defying was he? At this moment, Qin Wentian's silhouette slowly rose up into the air. His countenance was as calm as ever, and from the start till the end, he hadn't spoken a single word. However, his eyes seemed to contain a strange magical power, causing the hearts of those who stared into his eyes to tremble uncontrollably. The surviving experts of the Pill Emperor Hall started retreating. Qin Wentian ascended, while they retreated unceasingly. At this moment, that young man was like a fiendish god, nobody dared to challenge him. Qin Wentian ascended the stairs, stepping onto the Pill Emperor Hall as he stared at the countless faces in front of him. Among the crowd, Luo He's silhouette could be seen. At this moment, Luo He's heart was numb as she stared at Qin Wentian. Back then, when Qin Wentian slaughtered his way into the Pill Emperor Hall, wielding the demon sword and slaughtering everything in his path, Luo He already knew what a grave mistake she had made. Back then, when she faced Qin Wentian, she only treated him as a junior. She had never truly regarded Qin Wentian in her eyes, even if he was the top ranker of the heavenly fate rankings. But a few years later, when she heard Qin Wentian's name again, she discovered to her shock that she, Luo He, no longer had to look up to this junior of hers. Just like now, when that white-robed silhouette casually stood there, the entire Pill Emperor Hall trembled. How terrifying was this influence? In the entire Grand Xia, other than Qin Wentian, there wasn't a second person who could make the Pill Emperor Hall fear him to such an extent. Luo He. Just when Luo He was sighing in her heart, the white-robed silhouette coldly spoke, "You actually still have the face to live on. Everything I've done, is for the sake of the Pill Emperor Hall." Luo He drew in a deep breath as she slowly spoke. Back then, she had given Mo Qingqing a chance, although the chance she gave her now was nothing but a joke. Qingqing is already a 5th-ranked alchemist. Qin Wentian faintly spoke, his words like a bolt of lightning striking Luo He's heart, causing her breathing to turn erratic. Her countenance turned pale. Her former disciple, the disciple whom she had abandoned to nurture a corpse, had actually become a 5th-ranked alchemist. How ironic was this? She didn't doubt Qin Wentian's words. Given Qin Wentian's current strength and status, there was no need for him to lie to her. I've let Qingqing down. She's truly a good disciple, other than when it came to you, she didn't listen to me at all. Luo he sighed. Qingcheng has never mentioned you or the Pill Emperor Hall to me again. Qin Wentian calmly continued, just based on what you did to Qingcheng back then, you deserve to die. But back then in Chu, if it wasn't for you, Qingcheng would have already died. Maybe, she didn't know how to face the consequences. After all, you had once saved her life. If not, the strength Qingcheng wielded would already be enough to annihilate 10 Pill Emperor Halls. So, I won't kill you. Destroy your own cultivation base and become an ordinary mortal. Qin Wentian stared at Luo He, causing her to feel an indescribable feeling in her heart. Just based on Qingcheng's strength alone, it was enough to annihilate 10 Pill Emperor Halls. You are too confident. A voice drifted over. In the air, a constellation appeared, the Pill Emperor and another ascendant appeared. Qin Wentian didn't look at them, he was still staring at Luo He. I'm giving you the best chance to repent. Don't make me do it. Luo He fell silent, a tear could be seen at the corner of her eyes. No one could understand her feelings right now. It was she who single-handedly destroyed the most outstanding disciple in the history of the Pill Emperor Hall, causing her to stand against her. Initially, she had the chance to marry Mo Qingcheng to Qin Wentian. At that time, she didn't even dare to imagine how glorious the Pill Emperor Hall would be today. Everything had been ruined by her. Her arrogance, her conceit, had ruined everything. She was the sinner of the Pill Emperor Hall, she had let down her disciple, the beauty of Grand Xiao. Fine. Luo He's countenance dimmed as she suddenly laughed. Luo He. The members of the Pill Emperor Hall turned to Luo He only to see her smiling at her father, the Pill Emperor. I, Luo He, truly have no face to live on. After speaking, a terrifying destructive might erupted from her palms as boundless scorching flames ignited. With a ferocious slap, she blasted her palms into her own body, instantly incinerating it. Luo He coughed out a mouthful of blood, but she was still smiling at Qin Wentian. I've done wrong, but I've done my duty as a master. To me, becoming a cripple is even more terrifying than death. Luo He had a smile on her face as she collapsed onto the ground. She could only use her life to repent. Luo He. The countenance of the Pill Emperor paled, his rage towering up to the heavens. A terrifying flame descended from the skies, shooting towards Qin Wentian. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he dashed forward like a beam of light. Sword chi lacerated the heavens and earth as a rain of swords rained down from the skies. Qin Wentian blasted out with his palms, causing thunderous rumbling sounds to echo out as the silhouettes in front of him were all destroyed. Where do you think you're going? An incomparably gigantic flaming palm imprint descended from the skies, grabbing towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian lifted his palms as a resplendent light flashed. With a deafening boom, the flaming palm imprint was destroyed. Qin Wentian was akin to a great rock as he continued flying forwards. In just a short instant, he appeared in front of the demon sword that was stabbed into the ground of the Pill Emperor Hall. I'm back. Qin Wentian stared at the demon sword. Stretching out his hand, he slid his finger across the body of the sword, dripping his blood onto it. Instantly, the demon sword glowed with a towering light. You hate the fact that the heavens are too low. I'll bring you with me to break through the heavens and fight against the immortals and devils of the 9 heavens. Qin Wentian murmured. Inclining his head, he soared up into the skies as his blood dripped down the body of the demon sword. He was already 1,000 meters in the air, his hands gripping the hilt of the demon sword. Chapter 670. Qin Wentian's finger sliced through the body of the demon sword. Blood flowed unceasingly from his fingertips, swirling around the demon sword. At this instant, a blood-colored light of over 100 meters radiated from the demon sword as demonic chi towered up into the heavens. That terrifying blood-colored halo of light caused the hearts of those who stared at it from afar to tremble in fear. A sigh rang out from within the demon sword. After which, a towering sword keening could be heard as the sword might dance together with the blood-colored halo of light. A few years ago, this white-robed young man transformed into a primordial great rock and split apart the Pill Emperor Hall, leaving the demon sword behind. However, no one was able to pull it out. Now, he returned once again, feeding his blood to the demon sword, as though he wanted to awaken it. This scene caused the spectators of the Pill Emperor Hall to be stunned. Xu Huanyu stared dumbfoundedly as waves of shock rocked her heart. If she didn't witness it personally, she wouldn't be able to imagine how crazy that young man was. "Stop him!" the Pill Emperor roared. He and another ascendant of the Pill Emperor Hall, as well as an old man from the Pill Emperor Hall, sped towards the direction of Qin Wentian. They were extremely fearful of Qin Wentian. None of them were like the Pill Emperor Hall who had personally experienced what happened a few years ago. Also, no one knew that Qin Wentian still had a terrifying power hidden in the shadows. If it wasn't for Jun Yu's return back then, they truly wouldn't have wanted to antagonize Qin Wentian. Hence, they publicly apologized and even offered to pay any price to resolve the grudge between them and Qin Wentian. Sadly, Qin Wentian didn't accept it at all. The Pill Emperor was naturally afraid. A few years ago, Qin Wentian had to transform into a primordial great rock before he could unleash the might of a peak-level Heavenly Dipper sovereign. But now, just Qin Wentian's combat prowess alone was already comparable to a celestial phenomenon ascendant. If he was allowed to pull out the demon sword, the consequences would be unimaginable. Two constellations hung in the air, resplendent and resplendent. The constellation of the Pill Emperor contained a 9-colored flame, filled with a terrifying destructive might. That was the constellation manifested by the old man from the Pill Emperor Hall. His constellation was pitch black in color, with black flames flickering within it. Amidst the descending flames, an aura of death could be felt. "Kill!" The King of Dan roared in anger. His celestial phenomenon blossomed with 9-colored light, transforming into a terrifying 9-colored flame that shot towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian acted as though he didn't see it. Blood dyed the 1,000-meter-long demon sword red. At this moment, he could feel the humming of the demon sword, the shrill screeches of the demon sword, as well as the pride of the demon sword. "Rise!" Qin Wentian's expression was solemn. His sword trembled unceasingly. He pulled the 1,000-meter-long sword out of the ground. In an instant, a blood-red halo swept across everything. A terrifying sword might soared into the sky and crashed into the 9-colored flame that was falling towards Qin Wentian. With a loud rumble, the flame exploded and blossomed into a magnificent fiery light. What a terrifying sword energy! The Pill Emperor's countenance turned pale. The demon sword was still the same as before, but Qin Wentian had grown even stronger. "Kill!" As Qin Wentian's gaze swept over, those experts from the Pill Emperor Hall abruptly halted their steps. That towering sword might directly penetrated through their bodies, causing their bodies to fall to the ground one after another, as though they were nothing more than weeds. Your cultivation base is no different from them in my eyes. What qualifications do you have to fight against an immortal or devil from the 9 heavens? A voice drifted into Qin Wentian's ears. It was none other than the voice of the demon sword. Back then, the demonic divinity sacrificial transformation art was irreversible. It was none other than the demon sword that transmitted its voice to Qin Wentian. Impart the immortal vanquishing swordplay to him. The great Tao begins from the beginning. How can there be an immortal or devil in the world? You hate the heavens for being too low, why don't you dance with me? Qin Wentian's voice was solemn. Yet another palm imprint filled with destruction blasted towards Qin Wentian. This palm imprint was inscribed with the flames of death, containing a fearsome pressure of death. Boom! Qin Wentian stepped in the air, his robes lacerated as a resplendent light circulated around him. It was as though he was clad in a fiend god armor. His body expanded in size, transforming into the body of a fiend god. Roaring at the heavens, he blasted out with his palms as a force as heavy as thunder swept over everything. Boom! The palm imprint of destruction exploded apart in the air. The crowd stared in shock at the silhouette of Qin Wentian as their hearts turned numb. Even without the demon sword, his attack power was already sufficient to shake the attacks of ascendants from the Pill Emperor Hall. How strong exactly was he exactly? The countenances of the Pill Emperor and that ancient expert turned ashen as they stared at the fiend god body of Qin Wentian. The resplendent light circulating around him seemed to be indestructible. The two of them stood on the left and right of Qin Wentian. 9-colored flames and black-colored flames unceasingly gushed forth, unceasingly descending from the sky. With Qin Wentian in the center, the entire space around him was filled with destructive energy. You obtained an immortal art again? The voice of the demon sword drifted over when it saw the aura radiating from Qin Wentian. After which, its tone turned arrogant as it coldly spoke, I hate the heavens for being too low, I refuse to fly. So what if you have truly transformed into a fiend god? The arrogance in its voice towered up the heavens, as though even fiend gods wouldn't be able to control it. Seems like I've overestimated you. Qin Wentian loosened his grip on the demon sword. He inclined his head and stared at the destructive flames gushing towards him as he spoke with arrogance, even if I don't need to borrow your strength, I can still annihilate the Pill Emperor Hall. It's just that our encounter can only be considered fate. You hate the heavens for being too low, I want to soar above the 9 heavens and fight against all the immortals and fiend gods. When we met, we originally wanted to shatter the heavens, yet you refused to face me. As the sound of his voice faded, the bloodline in Qin Wentian's body erupted forth frenziedly. Behind him, a fearsome shadow of a demon manifested. Summon. As his astral soul appeared, Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the skies. Instantly, a boundless divine glow cascaded downwards, causing the light radiating from him to grow even more resplendent. Numerous fearsome astral war beasts descended from the skies, exuding an unexcelled might. Kill them for me. Qin Wentian commanded. The demonic beasts trampled the heavens and earth, rushing towards the experts of the Pill Emperor Hall. A towering sword chi manifested around him as he lifted his palms and blasted outwards. In that instant, a destructive might filled every corner of the skies. The destructive flames were all extinguished at the same instant, as though they were shattered by the sword chi. The experts of the Pill Emperor Hall naturally heard Qin Wentian's incomparably arrogant words. They also knew that these words weren't meant for them, but for the demon sword instead. That demon sword was like a demon, it actually had a life of its own, and was conversing with Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was arrogant enough to say that even without the demon sword, he could fight against the experts of the Pill Emperor Hall alone. Since the demon sword refused to dance with him, why would there be a need for him to dance with it when he soars above the 9 heavens one day? As the sound of his voice faded, the sword chi radiating from the demon sword grew even more terrifying. It was as though the demon sword was enraged. The countenances of the Pill Emperor and the old freaks from the Pill Emperor Hall were all incredibly unsightly to behold. Qin Wentian's attack prowess was so strong that it caused their hearts to tremble. If he broke through to celestial phenomenon, how terrifying would he be? Seal of life and death, see life and death. That old freak saw that Qin Wentian had broken free from the demon sword. For the first time, he directly attacked Qin Wentian. The resplendent light of death enveloped the heavens and earth as an ancient imprint shot through the air, blasting towards Qin Wentian. That ancient imprint seemed to contain the power of a constellation, leaving behind a trail of death light in the air. Qin Wentian's palms were no longer his palms of flesh and blood. Instead, they were palm imprints filled with the aura of destruction. With a howl of rage, he stomped on the heavens and earth, suppressing immortals and devils. His body transformed into numerous silhouettes, all of them rushing out at the same time. The seal of life and death was directly shattered as countless star-seizing palm imprints gushed forth with illusory demonic energy, rushing towards that old freak from the Pill Emperor Hall. Qin Wentian's strength didn't merely originate from his usage of true intents. His superiority in astral energy, his bloodline, and his innate techniques were all manifested in all aspects. Finally, when he unleashed his attacks, the might he exuded was truly towering to the heavens. Ordinary peak-level Heavenly Dipper sovereigns wouldn't be able to match up to him. Even for celestial phenomenon ascendants who had condensed their constellations, their aura wouldn't be much stronger than his. That old freak from the Pill Emperor Hall faced the endless attacks. His celestial phenomenon energy converged as he frenziedly blasted out with both his palms, defending against Qin Wentian's attack. However, Qin Wentian's silhouette was like a phantom. With a grab of his palm, the entire space seemed to have transformed into an illusory dimension. That old freak from the Pill Emperor Hall saw Qin Wentian brandishing his scarlet demon halberd as he dashed over. Yet another series of afterimages appeared. The countenance of that old freak from the Pill Emperor Hall turned pale. He no longer had the strength to withstand such an attack. Bzzz. His silhouette wanted to flee, yet he only saw that the boundless beams of light were already shooting over. His body directly exploded, transforming into nothingness. The Pill Emperor initially wanted to help, but upon witnessing the death of that old freak, his body stiffened as he drew in a deep breath. Although his strength was many times stronger compared to that old freak, Qin Wentian's strength had already completely stunned him. His gaze swept downwards, the astral war beasts had already started their slaughter. Fresh blood dyed the Pill Emperor Hall red, even the setting sun in the sky was dyed red. Everything was the same as the day he left back then. The day he returned would be the day of judgment for the Pill Emperor Hall. Qin Wentian's silhouette slowly descended, landing on the demon sword. He slowly spoke, "Have you thought it through clearly? If you follow me, I won't bring disgrace to you." The humming of the sword intensified, the gigantic body of the demon sword trembled violently as the earth cracked apart unceasingly. A storm of destruction that caused despair to ravage the entire Pill Emperor Hall. It was as though doomsday had arrived. Chi. Deep cracks appeared on the surface of the Pill Emperor Hall. Boundless sword chi gushed forth as the experts below died one after another. The majestic Pill Emperor Hall that spanned over 100 miles started to crumble apart. Bzzz. The countenance of the Pill Emperor paled. His silhouette directly soared through the air as an illusory sail appeared beneath his feet. This was none other than a speed-type divine weapon the Pill Emperor exchanged for. Even if he couldn't defeat the Pill Emperor, he could still flee. "Since you are so brazen, I shall be your witness. If in the future, you still can't stand up to the 9 heavens, I shall personally slay you." A similarly arrogant voice drifted into Qin Wentian's ears. The silhouette of the Pill Emperor had already vanished, only to be replaced by a beam of light that slashed the void into two. The silhouette of the Pill Emperor abruptly appeared in the distance as his body was directly torn into two, falling down from the skies. Just like this moment. The voice of the demon sword rang out once more. Qin Wentian still stood arrogantly on the sword hilt, his countenance calm. However, the countless experts outside the Pill Emperor Hall all shuddered involuntarily when they saw the body of the Pill Emperor falling down from the skies. From today onwards, there would no longer be a Pill Emperor Hall in Grand Xiao. Chapter 671. Qin Wentian stared ahead. This demon sword was truly arrogant, he had long known this point. Back then when he pulled out the sword from the Sword Reverend City, he didn't use a blood sacrifice. This demon sword was even more arrogant than him. Qin Wentian had never seen such an arrogant person before, let alone a sword like this. This sword is extraordinary, it must have a shocking origin. Qin Wentian mused. If it didn't have a shocking origin, how would it dare to say that the heavens were too low? Don't worry, I won't bring shame to your name. However, do you intend to follow me like this? Qin Wentian faintly spoke. The body of the demon's sword was over 1,000 meters long. How could it be controlled? Although I'm willing to be your witness, I won't take the initiative to lend my strength to you. I really want to see how you are going to fulfill your arrogant words today. The sword chi radiating from the demon's sword tore apart the 9 heavens. With a shrill howl, a terrifying storm of destruction ravaged the earth. Countless silhouettes from the Pill Emperor Hall inclined their heads, staring at the storm of destruction, their eyes filled with despair. An intense beam of light pierced through the air. Qin Wentian suddenly discovered that the 1,000-meter-long demon sword had transformed into a 3-chi-long sword, radiating a white light that illuminated the skies. It exuded a boundless demonic aura, akin to an evil sword. This sword was incomparably demonic. It whistled through the air, directly piercing into the towering Pill Emperor Hall. Everywhere it passed by, everything was reduced to rubble. When the sword pierced into the Pill Emperor Hall, the entire Pill Emperor Hall had already vanished without a trace. The entire Pill Emperor Hall had been completely destroyed, turning into dust as sand and gravel drifted about in the air. Only the white demonic sword gleaming with a blood-red light remained, piercing through the dust, displaying its sharpness. Qin Wentian glanced at the demonic sword as a demonic smile appeared on his face. After which, he stepped out, moving towards the location where the Pill Emperor died. Everywhere he passed by, the spectators all retreated. The void sail landed on the ground, containing a strand of void energy within it. This Pill Emperor had long prepared a path of retreat. With this void sail, if it wasn't for the demonic sword unleashing its might, Qin Wentian wouldn't have been able to stop the Pill Emperor. Qin Wentian kept the void sail before retrieving the Pill King ring. Nobody dared to touch these items. Qin Wentian even destroyed the Pill Emperor Hall. Who would dare to take his spoils of war? Unless he was tired of living. After returning to the Pill Emperor Hall, Qin Wentian slowly walked towards the demon's sword in the midst of a cloud of dust. The demonic glow emanating from the sword was retracted, no longer radiating any light. It was as though it was just an ordinary sword, devoid of light, quietly standing there. Qin Wentian stretched out his hand and unsheathed the sword. He raised his head and looked at the void. He took a step forward and soared into the sky, disappearing into the void in the blink of an eye. He's gone. The crowd inclined their heads, staring at the disappearing silhouette. Their hearts that were filled with waves of shock gradually calmed down, but as they stared at the Pill Emperor Hall that had turned into dust, they couldn't help but feel their hearts twitching. The next time he returned would be the day of judgment for the Pill Emperor Hall. And now, the day of judgment has arrived. Another transcendent power of Grand Xia, the Pill Emperor Hall, was razed to flat ground. 2 ascendants died in battle, and there was no one left alive in the entire Pill Emperor Hall. All of them were killed by that demon sword. Now that this sword was in the hands of Qin Wentian, it was unknown how many storms of blood would be stirred up in the future. The Pill Emperor Hall has been destroyed, becoming history. Even now, there were still people who couldn't believe what they had just seen. The Pill Emperor Hall had stood tall in the Moon continent for far too many years, yet it vanished without a trace just like that. Ruanyu, you already knew that he was Qin Wentian. The voice of Shu Ruanyu's good friend trembled. No wonder Shu Ruanyu had been staring at him all this while. So it turned out that he was none other than the young man who had once kidnapped Shu Ruanyu. Shu Ruanyu had a bitter smile on her face. She could only sigh in her heart at the fickleness of the world. If back then she had known that he would have such a glorious future, what would she have done when she was kidnapped by him? More and more people gathered in front of the Pill Emperor Hall. Staring at the majestic ancient hall that had once stood tall in front of them now turned into dust, with not a single trace of it left behind, they were all speechless for a long time. The news of the Pill Emperor Hall's destruction soon spread throughout Grand Xia. The various transcendent powers once again felt uneasy. From Qin Wentian, they could feel an intense threat. Someone who could destroy the Ouyang aristocrat clan, the Pill Emperor Hall and control the Azure Emperor Palace with a flip of his hand. how could the transcendent powers not feel trepidation in their hearts? The experts from the transcendent powers all became even more enthusiastic. Ever since the gathering of the various transcendent powers in the Azure Emperor Palace, there were signs of an alliance once again wanting to negotiate with Qin Wentian. And as expected, a voice drifted into the Azure Emperor Palace. 3 days later, the transcendent powers of Grand Xia would visit the Azure Emperor Palace to negotiate with the Azure Emperor Palace Lord, Qin Wentian. The transcendent powers hoped that Qin Wentian would give them face and not miss the appointment. Momentarily, the situation in Grand Xia became extremely complicated. There were signs that the various transcendent powers would form an alliance to contend against Qin Wentian. This caused the spectators to sigh in admiration at Qin Wentian's strength. In these thousands of years, only he was able to cause the transcendent powers to be so afraid of him. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Outside the Azure Emperor Palace, the various transcendent powers descended from the skies. The lineup this time around was even stronger compared to the previous time. This time around, Qin Wentian didn't conceal himself. Upon sensing the auras of the various transcendent powers, he led Fairy Qinmei and the rest to the stairway leading to the Azure Emperor Palace as he stared at the silhouettes of the various transcendent powers. The white-robed young man stood there with his hands clasped behind his back. His white robes fluttered in the wind as the transcendent powers stared at Qin Wentian. Their hearts couldn't remain calm. Was he really as young as the rumors said? Yet, he was able to cause such a huge commotion in Grand Xia. Heroes are young, Palace Lord Qin's talent truly makes all of us perspire in shame. A voice drifted over. Qin Wentian stared at the various transcendent powers, his countenance was calm as he asked, "Why did everyone come to my Azure Emperor Palace?" Qin Wentian, recently you have caused so much chaos in Grand Xia. 3 ascendants of the Ouyang aristocrat clan fell, the Pill Emperor Hall was destroyed and the Azure Emperor Palace submitted. What do you want exactly? The Wang ancestor stared at Qin Wentian, his countenance sharp. Qin Wentian's eyes slowly turned over, landing on him as he replied, "What has that got to do with you?" The countenance of the Wang ancestor stiffened as he coldly snorted, truly the arrogance of the young. Grand Xia will no longer allow you to behave so atrociously. An evil smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he mockingly glanced at the Wang ancestor. Who the hell do you think you are? Are you even qualified to speak to me in this manner? You. The countenance of the Wang ancestor stiffened. He didn't expect that even with so many experts here today, Qin Wentian would still be so arrogant. Qin Wentian. The Shi ancestor called out, the transcendent powers of Grand Xia have always lived in harmony with each other. You have gone too far. Gone too far. Qin Wentian turned his gaze onto the Shi ancestor. In that case, I should forget what the Pill Emperor Hall did to me back then. You guys are truly shameless. Fairy Qinmei couldn't help but to mock. In Grand Xia, the strong preyed on the weak. Which of these transcendent powers didn't swallow up countless others? Now, they actually dared to say that Qin Wentian had stirred up trouble in Grand Xia. If they had the strength, they would have done things even more ruthlessly than Qin Wentian. Not only that, up until now, Qin Wentian had yet to touch any of the transcendent powers that had nothing to do with him. Regardless of the Pill Emperor Hall, Ouyang aristocrat clan, or the Azure Emperor Palace, the grudges between them were extremely deep. Even before he touched the benefits of these transcendent powers, they had already started to gang up on him. Let's get back to the main topic. What do you want? Qin Wentian calmly asked. We cannot allow such a storm to continue in Grand Xia. Qin Wentian, given your talent, why do you still want to stay in Grand Xia? The Shi ancestor stated. Do I still need your permission to stay here? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with sharpness. The Shi ancestor shook his head, that's not my intention. This time around, I came here to negotiate with you. We cannot allow any more transcendent powers to be destroyed in Grand Xia. I know there were some transcendent powers that offended you in the past, and they are willing to compensate you. When you can bully others, you will bully them, but when you can't, compensate them? The leader of the Mystic Moon Hall coldly laughed. This is already our concession. The sure ancestor stated. What if I don't agree? Qin Wentian narrowed his eyes as he stared at the sure ancestor. Humph, if my information isn't wrong, you should be someone from the Chu country under the control of the Green Cloud Pavilion, right? This time around, the reason you came back is for your wedding with Mo Qingcheng. The Chu country is your homeland, your family and friends are all there. The Wang ancestor coldly stated. As the sound of his voice faded, an incomparably ferocious tempest erupted forth from Qin Wentian as a terrifying demonic qi towered up into the skies, gushing towards the Wang ancestor. His eyes gleamed with a demonic light as his killing intent gushed forth. The various transcendent powers all silently cursed the Wang ancestor in their hearts. The moment he said those words, things would definitely go south. The Wang ancestor suddenly felt the demonic qi soaring up into the skies, as well as Qin Wentian's gaze. His heart also trembled slightly, but he soon regained his composure and coldly snorted, locking gazes with Qin Wentian. The Ouyang aristocrat clan forced my brother's wife to marry someone else. I only killed the 3 main culprits and didn't touch the other members of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. In the Azure Emperor Palace, I didn't kill a single person, nor did I spill any blood. Only the Pill Emperor Hall was destroyed because of my blood feud with them. Back then, the Wang clan tried to hunt me down several times, but I still haven't settled my grudge with them. You said you are here to apologize, but now, you are actually threatening my clan. Qin Wentian's voice was filled with an icy killing intent. Although he wanted to unify Grand Xia, he had never thought of massacring the other transcendent powers. He only wanted to make the transcendent powers submit to him, just like how Grand Xia was back then. He had never thought of causing rivers of blood to flow in Grand Xia. But now, even before he could settle the score with the Wang clan, the Wang ancestor had already threatened his entire clan. No matter what I say, if Grand Xia suffers any more troubles, you shall bear the consequences. The Wang ancestor's voice was ice cold. Send our guests out. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over the crowd as he coldly stated. Everyone, please leave. Fairy Qingmei coldly stared at the crowd. Since the Wang ancestor had already investigated Qin Wentian's clan, it was evident that he wasn't the only one who had such intentions. Qin Wentian, are you sure you want to do this? The Swallow Swordlord's sword qi was ice cold, whistling through the air. Qin Wentian slowly walked away, he didn't turn back. This caused the countenance of the Swallow Swordlord to turn incomparably cold as he stated, everyone, he doesn't give you any face at all. Let's leave. The eyes of the various transcendent powers flickered with killing intent as they departed. They didn't dare to act recklessly. If they failed to kill Qin Wentian, the consequences would be unimaginable. Chapter 672. The transcendent powers of Grand Xia gathered at the Azure Emperor Palace to threaten Qin Wentian. If Qin Wentian dared to encroach on the transcendent powers of Grand Xia, they would join forces to deal with Qin Wentian. This news caused a huge commotion in Grand Xia. Everyone wanted to see how the insufferably arrogant Heaven's Chosen would respond. However, Qin Wentian didn't reply, nor did he destroy any more transcendent powers. However, a major event happened in Ginkgo. Because of the appearance of the royal mausoleum, the various transcendent powers of Grand Xia still had their troops stationed in the surroundings. Although those who entered the royal mausoleum wouldn't be able to walk out alive, they still kept a close watch on the situation. And now, in the process of their surveillance, a power actually moved into the ancient kingdom and chased away the troops. At the same time, they paid a huge price to hire many skilled craftsmen to appear in the ancient kingdom and rebuild it. This matter instantly attracted a great deal of attention. Those experts from the various major powers who were monitoring the Azure Emperor Palace came over. After which, they received news that the Azure Emperor Palace of the Azure continent was going to relocate, and the new location was none other than the ancient kingdom of Grand Xiao. And as expected, not long after this news circulated out, experts from the Azure Emperor Palace arrived at the ancient kingdom one after another, directing the rebuilding of the ancient kingdom. This news instantly caused a commotion, engulfing the entire world. The Azure Emperor Palace moved to the ancient kingdom of Grand Xiao. For tens of millions of years, not a single transcendent power dared to encroach on the ancient kingdom. The meaning behind the Azure Emperor Palace's actions was extremely clear. The entire Grand Xia could hear the voice of the Azure Emperor Palace. Moving to the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia, wanting to become the king of Grand Xia once again. This could be considered Qin Wentian's strongest retaliation against the various transcendent powers. After that day, it was as though Qin Wentian had vanished completely. He didn't directly respond to the transcendent powers of Grand Xia, but this time around, the entire Grand Xia could see his determination. I want to dominate Grand Xia, who would dare to touch the Azure Emperor Palace? Most probably, at this moment, the transcendent powers wouldn't be able to sleep in peace. Because of the appearance of Qin Wentian, the transcendent powers of Grand Xia interacted with each other more frequently than in the past few hundred years. No one dared to obstruct the reconstruction of the ancient kingdom. Not a single transcendent power dared to take the lead and oppose the Azure Emperor Palace. They had once gone up to the Azure Emperor Palace to tell Qin Wentian not to touch any of the transcendent powers of Grand Xiao, yet they didn't tell Qin Wentian not to rebuild the ancient royal palace. Right now, Qin Wentian didn't take the initiative to create trouble and only wanted to relocate to the ancient royal palace. If they were to obstruct him, wouldn't that infuriate Qin Wentian completely? No one knew. In the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia, the craftsmen and craftsmen were busy working day and night. In the air outside the ancient kingdom, there was a void sail with a white-robed figure standing on it, observing everything that was happening. Other than Qin Wentian, Yunmengyi was also there. The unification of Grand Xia will not change its name. Your wish will naturally be fulfilled. The things I want to know, when will you tell me? Qin Wentian stared at Yunmengyi as he asked. I won't say anything at all. Yunmengyi's countenance flickered with a smile. Her limpid eyes stared at Qin Wentian as she placed her hands on Qin Wentian's arms in an extremely intimate manner. Unless one day, I become your woman. Qin Wentian furrowed his brows. With a flick of his sleeves, he pushed Yunmengyi's arms away. Get down. Qin Wentian indifferently spoke. Yunmengyi froze for a moment before her countenance returned to normal. She walked down from the void sail and stared at Qin Wentian. Am I so unattractive? I treat you as my friend. Qin Wentian emotionlessly spoke. After which, he turned and the void sail arced through the air, instantly vanishing from Yunmengyi's sight. In the western regions of Grand Xia, there was a desolate mountain range with a few chaotic cities around it. In this territory, there was a desolate area that was rarely visited by humans. It was a secret area of the Great Xia dynasty. The Grand Xia Empire had existed since ancient times. It had countless cities and was flourishing, with the 9 continents being the most prosperous. However, in the vastness of Grand Xia, there were also secret realms that had yet to be discovered. Countless experts had entered these secret realms before, but for those who entered, it was extremely hard for them to exit. No matter how strong they were, these secret realms were known as death grounds. The Devil Statue Cliff was one of the secret realms in Grand Xia. It was rumored that the Devil Statue Cliff was a sacred ground for the Devil Path, and there was once an extremely powerful devil that walked out from there. There was an ancient legend about the Devil Statue Cliff. In the past, a great war between immortals and devils occurred here, and eventually, immortals and devils fell here. Devil cultivators suppressed the immortals and used a supreme devil statue to suppress the immortals, creating the Devil Statue Cliff today. Throughout the history of Grand Xia, there would always be some characters who entered the Devil Statue Cliff, but all of them only managed to step into the periphery before exiting in a hurry, not knowing the secrets of the depths. As for those who entered the depths of the Devil Statue Cliff, only a few of them managed to exit. And even if they did, they would all become crazed characters, their minds in a daze. At this moment, Qin Wentian arrived at the entrance of the Devil Statue Cliff. His calm eyes flickered with a hint of longing. That lass Bai Qing had disappeared in the Devil Statue Cliff. Wasn't her guts too big? She actually came here with Fan Lu and the others, and even now, there was no news of her. To Qin Wentian, Bai Qing was like a younger sister of his. That silly lass didn't hesitate to place a blade on her neck to release him from the Bai residence, and even broke off relations with her father and elder sister. Every time he thought of Bai Qing, Qin Wentian would feel pain in his heart. Only this lass Bai Qing could cause Qin Wentian to feel a deep sense of tenderness. Little lass Bai Qing. Staring at the towering statues in front of him, Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath. The grand wedding was imminent, Qin Wentian shouldn't take the risk. Especially since the Devil Statue Cliff was a forbidden ground of Grand Xia, he shouldn't risk his life. However, his return to Grand Xia this time was firstly to complete his wedding with Qingqing, secondly to find Bai Qing, and thirdly, to settle the matters of Grand Xia. If he couldn't ascertain Bai Qing's safety, he would feel extremely uneasy. Back then when that lass cultivated the chaotic art of the Heavenly Devil, she still didn't forget to protect him. On the Heavenly Fate Rankings platform, she also protected him, fighting for him. Even when he injured her, she still cried out for Wentian Gage. These memories were still vivid in his mind. How could he forget such feelings? The Devil Statue Cliff was extremely vast, spanning a radius of a few hundred miles. Qin Wentian stared ahead as a resolute look flashed in his eyes. After which, he stepped out and entered the Devil Statue Cliff. A 1,000-meter-tall devil statue stood before him. It was like an ancient devil that was guarding the entrance to the Devil Statue Cliff. A gust of wind gusted by as Qin Wentian entered with his sword strapped to his back. At the instant he entered, a terrifying devil chi gushed forth. Instantly, Qin Wentian felt as though he had entered a world of devils. Numerous devil statues stood guard in all directions, their eyes staring at Qin Wentian, causing his heart to shudder violently. There are so many entrances, and each entrance leads to a different heaven and earth. Qin Wentian stared at the entrances in front of him. He didn't hesitate and rushed out, but he didn't enter the depths of the Devil Statue Cliff. Very swiftly, when Qin Wentian inclined his head, the space above him was filled with devil statues. Right now, he couldn't tell which direction he was heading in, nor could he find the exit. Bzzz 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 bzzz. Abruptly, boundless sound waves appeared in the air, as a terrifying devil might awakened. In that instant, Qin Wentian only felt his heart shuddering. Shifting his gaze forward, he saw an incomparably gigantic devil statue there. This devil statue was illusory and seemed to be able to move. Devil chi swirled around it, and the devil sounds it spoke penetrated through space, seeping into Qin Wentian's ears. That pair of eyes filled with devilish intent stared at Qin Wentian. With just a single glance, the astral energy in Qin Wentian's body was in a frenzy, as though there was a terrifying devil will gushing into his sea of consciousness. A boundless amount of energy gushed forth as terrifying rumbling sounds rang out. Qin Wentian only felt a towering pressure pressing down on him. In that instant, he felt as though he was hallucinating. Numerous supreme devil statues were directly rushing towards him, blotting out the sun. Qin Wentian stepped out. Instantly, a terrifying sword chi tempest engulfed the heavens and earth. With a thunderous boom, one of the devil statues was destroyed. With 2 steps, the earth trembled as rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly. That chaotic devil statue frenziedly tore apart everything in its path. With 3 steps, a storm of destruction engulfed this entire space. However, the devil sounds continued to reverberate in the air, and the countless devil statues continued to press down on Qin Wentian, seemingly never-ending. There's no form of existence, everything is a devil will. With a devil barrier in my heart, the devil statues are endless. As long as my state of mind is clear, the devils will not be able to suppress me. When Qin Wentian stepped out for the seventh step, a surge of sword intent towered up the heavens. He clasped his hands behind his back and stared at the devil statue before him as he advanced step by step. No matter how powerful the devil statues tried to press down on him, they couldn't do anything to him. Countless devil statues frenziedly rushed over, but before Qin Wentian, there seemed to be a supreme light that shone brightly. That was the will of clarity, his state of mind was clear and bright, the devil barrier wouldn't be able to affect his heart. Qin Wentian continued forward, allowing the devil statues to press down on him. He didn't stop. He entered from the entrance of the gigantic devil statue and continued moving deeper into the depths of this devil cave. No matter how dangerous the devil statue cliff was, or how mysterious it was, if Bai Qin was trapped here, he would bring her out. But if Bai Qin died here, no matter whose territory the devil statue cliff belonged to, he would spare no expense to destroy it. After stepping into another dimension, Qin Wentian didn't feel any relief at all. In fact, he felt even more danger. In this vast space, devil statues could be seen everywhere, suppressing everything. Darkness devil Qi danced wildly in the air as the devil statues opened their eyes and stared at Qin Wentian. Their terrifying auras frenziedly bore down on Qin Wentian. Rumble. At this moment, a devil statue moved, directly stepping out from the towering cliff. Its gigantic body lunged towards Qin Wentian as it punched out, manifesting a gigantic devil head that smashed towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's palms shone with a resplendent light. He lifted his palms and punched out, shattering the devil statue. His other arm grabbed out, slamming into the devil statue, causing it to explode. Boom! The earth trembled as the devil statues on both sides of the cliff trembled. After which, they uprooted themselves from the ground as boundless devil might gushed forth. These devil statues all lunged towards Qin Wentian, there was no end to them. If you all want to be a devil, I shall transform into a devil today. Qin Wentian's body grew violent as his demonic qi towered up into the clouds. With a stomp of his foot, he soared up into the air as a myriad of silhouettes appeared at the same time. Boundless divine light flashed, illuminating the entire space. Countless palm imprints blasted out, causing the void to tremble, destroying everything. Qin Wentian took large strides forward, rushing forward. He wanted to see how mysterious and terrifying this devil statue cliff was exactly. Chapter 673. Qin Wentian roamed around the devil statue cliff. The devil statues awakened and frenziedly rushed over. Qin Wentian swept them all away, frenziedly entering the depths of the devil statue cliff. He arrived in a sealed valley, which was also guarded by the golems. There was no sky in the sky, nor was there any sky. The only thing standing there was a single golem, piercing into the sky, as if it were suppressing the heavens. Boom! Qin Wentian's heart pounded. The devilish qi around him grew even more terrifying, causing him to feel like collapsing. Abruptly, boundless sound waves gushed forth from the devil statue cliff, permeating into Qin Wentian's ears. In front of him, a figure walked out, its entire body shone with a blood-colored devilish light. This was a terrifying devil figure, its eyes stared at Qin Wentian, as though it wanted to trap Qin Wentian within. At the instant this figure walked out, a gap appeared in the sealed space. Only through this gap could one continue forward. The sound waves continued, boundless devilish light shone from the devil statue. After which, the devil statue stepped out, lunging towards Qin Wentian with a speed so fast that it resembled a beam of devilish light. A simple and unadorned punch blasted out, capable of shaking the ancient and modern world, penetrating through the void. This punch contained boundless devilish chi, suppressing the heavens and earth, its strength capable of breaking through everything. Astral light circulated frenziedly around Qin Wentian. With a howl of rage, his body expanded in size as his robes tore apart. He stomped on the ground, manifesting a myriad of phantoms, his palms capable of shattering the constellations, sun, moon, and moon. Terrifying explosions rocked the heavens and earth. That devil statue's fist continued blasting forth, there was no way it wouldn't break. Qin Wentian's entire body shimmered with resplendent light as he collided head-on with his opponent's fist. In that instant, he felt that his opponent's fist contained a towering amount of devilish might, wanting to destroy his internal organs. It was as though a boundless devilish might was seeping into his body. Boom! A thunderous boom rang out, the devil statue's footsteps slid across the ground, causing sizzling sounds to echo out. Qin Wentian was forced backwards from the impact, coughing out blood. Wiping away the traces of blood at the corner of his lips, he placed his palms on the sword hilt behind his back. A resplendent light flashed as the sword was unsheathed. Qin Wentian's fingers slid across the blade of the demon sword as fresh blood dyed the demon sword red. Buzz! A terrifying sword tempest engulfed everything. The sword was unsheathed, transforming into a 1,000-meter-long demon sword. The keening of the sword tore apart the void, frenziedly sweeping towards the devil statues on the devil statue cliff. Qin Wentian brandished the gigantic sword as he advanced forward. Boundless sword intent cascaded down from the skies, blasting into the devil statue before him. The body of the devil statue expanded explosively, yet Qin Wentian roared in rage as he slashed out with the gigantic sword. Instantly, a boundless might bore down on the devil statue, slashing it down. The devil statue lifted its gigantic palm to defend, but the demon sword swept out horizontally, directly slashing the devil statue apart, turning it into dust. Qin Wentian continued moving forward, staring at the hole that was opened up. The devil might within caused his heart to tremble, causing his heart to palpitate uncontrollably. The statue on the devil statue cliff seemed to be a real person, with a real face. It was as though it had experienced the passage of millions of years, becoming a statue on the devil statue cliff. The demon sword shrank back to its original size. Qin Wentian wielded the demon sword and walked through the hole, arriving at another dimension. At this instant, his gaze froze as his heart pounded violently. Boundless devil music rang out, shaking the souls of others. A towering black-colored devilish light mixed together with blood-colored light. In the center of this incomparably vast devil statue cliff, there were millions of devil statues in the surroundings. All of them radiated an intense devilish light as they moved towards the sacrificial altar in the center. 10,000 Devils' Pilgrimage. Qin Wentian's heart pounded violently. The 10,000 Devils' Pilgrimage was like they were worshipping the Devil King. In the central region, a blood-colored light shot up to the skies, as though there was a devil light cascading down from the heavens, cascading down on the sacrificial altar in the center. The sacrificial altar was enveloped by the blood-colored light, and within it, there seemed to be a devil statue. It couldn't be seen clearly, but in the surroundings of the sacrificial altar, numerous blood-colored devils could be seen. They stood there chanting, as though they were singing a song of victory for the Devil King. At this moment, a figure turned around. This figure was an illusory devil phantom. He merely cast a glance at Qin Wentian, and just a single glance was enough to cause Qin Wentian to lose control of his body. That terrifying devilish might directly gushed into his sea of consciousness. Bzz. That devil phantom instantly appeared before him. Qin Wentian felt as though he had fallen into a devil's trap. This was a blood-colored space with no signs of life, only a devil intent. A terrifying blood-colored palm imprint blasted over, slamming into Qin Wentian, causing him to cough out blood from the impact. Could this be a constellation as well? Qin Wentian mumbled. He felt a sense of helplessness in his heart. There was actually such a terrifying power within the devil statue cliff. There were even devils worshipping the devil statues here. Qin Wentian, who was lying on the ground, stared at the devil light in the air. Faint traces of starlight could be seen flickering within, resembling a constellation. From within, a blood-colored devil saber manifested, directly slashing down. That devil saber seemed to be able to sever the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian felt despair. He had no way to evade the attack of this devil saber. Puchi. The devil saber pierced into his body as fresh blood dyed the ground red. Qin Wentian's countenance turned pale. He had thought that he could do many things, like finding Bai Qing taking revenge for her. But now, he discovered to his dismay that he wasn't as strong as he had imagined. In this world, there were too many powers he couldn't defend against. A flame burned in Qin Wentian's heart, a flame that wanted to grow stronger. However, this wish could only be placed on Di Tian. Fresh blood dyed the ground even redder. Qin Wentian's consciousness was somewhat blurry. The blood that flowed on the ground didn't dry even after a long time, but instead, a powerful aura permeated the air, slowly flowing back into Qin Wentian's body, nourishing his heart, as though it was sustaining Qin Wentian's life force. Why am I not dead yet? In his blurry consciousness, Qin Wentian felt as though he hadn't died yet. That white-colored heart fire appeared again, as though it was able to protect his life. Even if his heart was attacked, it would still be able to protect his heart, preventing him from dying. But this time around, the injuries he suffered were different. That devil saber was still embedded in his body, and there was a terrifying energy within that saber corroding his heart, wanting to reap away his life. These two energies seemed to be fighting against each other. This type of resistance lasted for a very long time, but the people on the sacrificial altar seemed to have forgotten about him. The devilish melody still lingered in the air, as though an ancient ritual was being carried out. After several days, Qin Wentian faintly sensed that the devilish melody had vanished. He could sense that he wasn't dead yet. In fact, he could even sense that someone had pulled out the devil's saber that was stabbed into his heart. He tried his best to regain his blurry consciousness so that he could see everything clearly. However, he could only faintly sense a blurry figure. That figure was clad in black devil armor, exuding a terrifying aura. Her face seemed somewhat familiar, clear and beautiful, yet it exuded a terrifying devilish intent, as though she was the descendant of a devil king. After that, Qin Wentian felt a soft and supple body hugging him. That black devil armor didn't seem to have any weight at all, it was unable to block the feeling of soft skin, yet it still gave off an intense sense of majesty. After that, Qin Wentian faintly felt that he was floating in the air. All of this seemed like a dream, and it was slightly unreal. When he woke up from his dream, Qin Wentian tried his best to open his eyes. The sunlight pierced into his eyes, and Qin Wentian narrowed his eyes, feeling somewhat unaccustomed to it. After that, he opened his eyes again, adapting to the sunlight. White clouds drifted about in the sky, the devilish melody had long stopped lingering in his ears. Beside him, whispers could be heard, as well as laughter. Could it be that this fellow fainted even before he stepped into the devil statue cliff? Devil statue cliff. Qin Wentian abruptly sat up, his heart pounding violently. He glanced at his own body, only to see that his robes were in a mess, and there were traces of lacerations everywhere. The wound at the location of his heart seemed to have already healed. That terrifying bloodline of his had an extremely powerful healing ability. This was something Qin Wentian knew very well. Shifting his gaze to the side, the demon sword quietly laid on the ground beside him, resembling an ordinary iron sword, with no abnormalities at all. What happened? Qin Wentian mumbled to himself. Everything seemed like a dream, but he knew that he wasn't dreaming. Everything was real. Who was that blurry figure in his dream? Was she the one who saved him? Stretching his hands out, Qin Wentian touched his cheeks. There seemed to be some crystallized liquid that had dried on his face, leaving behind some traces. Qin Wentian picked up the demon sword and stood up, staring at the horizons. The devil statue cliff was right there, he was sent out by someone. A gust of wind gusted by, fluttering his robes. Qin Wentian stared at the white clouds above the devil statue cliff. Everything seemed so tranquil, yet his heart was unable to calm down even after a long time. He was thinking, which part of the sky was the real one? That space within the devil statue cliff, that towering devilish light that pierced through the sky, where did it come from? Little Bai Qing, is that you? Qin Wentian mumbled in a low voice. That soft frame clad in black devil armor, that resolute yet gentle gaze, although blurry, he was still very familiar. Could that be Bai Qing? Qin Wentian had no way to know the truth. He also knew that he didn't have the strength to enter the devil statue cliff again. The devil silhouettes there, he had no way to contend against them. Do you know what happened? Qin Wentian placed the demon sword in front of him as he asked. The demon sword didn't reply, it still didn't emit any light. It was completely silent, as though it was fulfilling its promise. It would only be a witness for Qin Wentian. Senior brother, is this man an idiot? He's actually talking to his own sword. Not far away from him, a young lady spoke to the young man beside her, as she stared at Qin Wentian with a strange expression. Maybe he's scared silly. The young man mocked. The group of young men and women stared at Qin Wentian's disheveled robes and dumbfounded expression, all of them thought that Qin Wentian was an idiot. Qin Wentian acted as though he hadn't heard anything. Abruptly, a terrifying beam of light shot up into the skies, instantly enveloping his entire body. After which, he took out a set of clean robes and donned them. He continued staring at the devil statue cliff as he sighed in his heart, hoping that this last Bai Qing would be fine. The void sail appeared as Qin Wentian stepped onto it. A resplendent light flashed as Qin Wentian's silhouette directly vanished into thin air. The people behind him stared at the departing silhouette, as well as that terrifying light earlier. They gulped as their faces turned pale. Their entire bodies were drenched in cold sweat. In that instant earlier, they felt that as long as Qin Wentian was angered, he could easily crush them to death. Chapter 674. In the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia, many ruins rose up from the ground. The skilled craftsmen all obeyed Yun Mengyi's instructions, and after a period of sleepless nights, the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia once again regained its former majesty. But what was different from the ancient kingdom of the past was that the current ancient kingdom of Grand Xia was filled with vitality, as though it was witnessing the rise of a new dynasty. A new legend was currently playing out in Grand Xia. The transcendent powers of Grand Xia didn't come to cause trouble. When Qin Wentian moved to the ancient kingdom in response to their request, the transcendent powers were strangely silent. Behind this silence, one could faintly sense that there would be a day when these transcendent powers would rise up. At that time, no one could predict whether the future of Grand Xia would be the same as the Azure Emperor back then. During these days, outside the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia, a grey-robed silhouette would occasionally appear. This old man resembled an ordinary old man, passing by the majestic ancient kingdom of Grand Xia. Only after several days did this old man vanish from sight. With regards to this point, Qin Wentian had no idea. Qin Wentian left a pair of eyes in the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia. He also left an astral war beast there. He would know everything that happened in the ancient kingdom. It was the same in Chu. During these days, Chu wasn't at peace. The reason was naturally because of the return of Qin Wentian as well as the date of his wedding. More and more people flocked to the royal capital of Chu, preparing to attend the grand wedding between Qin Wentian and Mo Qingcheng. The emperor of Chu, Chu Wuwei, had long ordered for a banquet to be held. Who wouldn't want to see the young man who killed the imperial emperor with a single strike? During this period of time, Mo Feng and Mo Yu were both extremely awe-inspiring. Every day, there would be many good friends coming to look for them, inquiring about Qin Wentian. The incident at the inn that day had spread like wildfire, and after Qin Wentian asked the imperial emperor to come see him, countless young men treated Qin Wentian as their idol. That last Mo you didn't reject him at all. Mo Feng was somewhat unhappy, he preferred to bring Ling Yu around to roam the world. Today, Mo Feng and Ling Yu were holding hands as they strolled through the royal capital. The two of them had already confirmed their relationship and would stick together every day, causing Mo Feng to be extremely happy. Mo Feng, in the future when you marry me, would you make me look as imposing as Sis Qingqing? Ling Yu smiled, joking with Mo Feng. Mo Feng scratched his head as he spoke in a somewhat dejected manner. Ling Yu, although I will do my best to give you a satisfactory wedding, but if I want to surpass brother-in-law and let you be as awe-inspiring as Sis Qingqing, I'm afraid it's going to be extremely difficult. After all, brother-in-law is simply too awesome. Hee hee. Ling Yu pulled Mo Feng's hand as she smiled gently. I'm just joking with you. As long as you treat me well, it's enough. For brother-in-law to have such accomplishments today, he must have experienced many trials and dangers. Although I also hope that you are strong, I don't want you to encounter so many dangers. If you can spend more time with me, I'll already be the happiest. Mo Feng, am I very selfish? On one hand, I hope that you will be strong enough to marry me in a glorious manner, but on the other hand, I'm talking about this. Nope, this is because you like me. Mo Feng smiled in a silly manner. Looking at Ling Yu's face, he felt a little shy as he rolled his eyes. Who likes you? After speaking, she turned and sprinted away. Mo Feng hurriedly chased after her. Mississippi, at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared, blocking Ling Yu's path. Ling Yu stared at the silhouettes that appeared before her as her mouth opened and closed. Has father come to Chu? Ling Yu asked. Old master wants to see you. The person in front nodded. Ling Yu nodded and turned her head to look at Mo Feng as a bitter smile appeared on her face. Mo Feng, you should return. Ling Yu. Mo Feng spoke with reluctance. Don't worry, I'll go chat with my father. Ling Yu smiled. Old master said to let young master Mo Feng go as well. The figure in front spoke, his words causing Ling Yu and Mo Feng to start. They exchanged mutual glances. Ling Yu's beautiful eyes flashed with a hint of nervousness. However, Mo Feng replied, that's fine then. Ling Yu, I will go with you to meet uncle together. Ling Yu hesitated for a moment before nodding her head lightly. Okay. Let's go little miss, old master is in the Drunken Wine Inn. The figure in front led the way, causing Ling Yu and Mo Feng to feel a little puzzled. To think that they were actually in the Drunken Wine Inn, the place where the commotion occurred previously. Right now, the Drunken Wine Inn was even more bustling compared to before. There were many guests, but today, the third level was exceptionally quiet. There was no sound at all. When Mo Feng and Ling Yu walked up together, they felt somewhat nervous. And when they stepped into a private room, Ling Yu's beautiful eyes instantly froze. She naturally saw her father. However, her father wasn't the only one here. Her grandpa was here as well. In fact, both her grandpa and her father were standing there, accompanied by a black-robed silhouette. This black-robed figure sat there, exuding a sense of imposingness. His eyes were sharp, as though they could pierce through the hearts of others. Ling Yu seemed to be a little nervous. She bowed to the black-robed figure and called out, Ling Yu pays her respects to the sovereign. As a member of the Green Cloud Pavilion, Ling Yu naturally knew who this black-robed figure was. It was none other than the Green Cloud Sovereign who forced Old Man Green Cloud away. The Green Cloud Sovereign wasn't as gentle as Qin Wentian, he was an extremely strict person. Those who submit to him would prosper, his methods were extremely ruthless. Ling Yu was somewhat afraid of him, but she didn't have the chance to meet him normally. She didn't expect that he would actually come to Chu today. Mo Feng's body trembled lightly. Sovereign, was this the Green Cloud Sovereign from the Green Cloud Pavilion? The Green Cloud Sovereign nodded. The usually strict Green Cloud Sovereign had a rare smile on his face, but his smile was still filled with a sense of imposingness. The gaze of the Green Cloud Sovereign landed on Mo Feng as he asked, "You are Mo Qingqing's younger brother, Mo Feng?" "Yes." Mo Feng nodded in response, feeling a little nervous as well. "Not bad, you are quite compatible with Ling Yu." The Green Cloud Sovereign laughed, his words causing Mo Feng to heave a sigh of relief. "Many thanks, Sovereign. Don't worry about it. I came to Chu because I wish to meet with your brother-in-law. Can you help me pass a message to him?" The Green Cloud Sovereign asked. Mo Feng started. Qin Wentian domineeringly killed the Imperial Emperor of the Green Cloud Imperial Empire and told the others to report this to the Green Cloud Sovereign. After that, no one from the Green Cloud Pavilion came to seek revenge and this matter was left unsettled. But now, the Green Cloud Sovereign actually appeared here. But from the looks of it, he wasn't here for revenge. "My brother-in-law isn't in Chu, I have no way to contact him." Mo Feng spoke. "Fine, go back and tell your sister first. If your brother-in-law still hasn't returned after 3 days, I will pay a visit to your sister." The Green Cloud Sovereign still had a smile on his face, causing Mo Feng to have no idea what he meant. "Okay, I will tell my sister." Mo Feng nodded. "Go on, Ling Yu will stay behind to accompany her father." The Green Cloud Sovereign casually spoke. Mo Feng glanced at Ling Yu and upon seeing her nod, he left the inn. After Mo Feng returned, he told Mo Qingqing about this matter before he departed. In the courtyard Mo Qingqing was in, her beautiful eyes flashed with bewilderment as she stared at the silver rock beside her. This silver rock was none other than Qin Wentian's summoned beast. Before the astral energy of a summoned beast was depleted, it would be able to exist forever. Through this summoned beast, Qin Wentian was able to know everything that was happening here. Hence, he also knew what the Green Cloud Sovereign wanted Mo Feng to tell him. This caused Qin Wentian to feel bewilderment in his heart. Maybe, the Green Cloud Sovereign knew that Mo Qingqing would have a way to contact him, hence he wanted Mo Feng to pass the message to Mo Qingqing. However, he didn't know what his purpose for coming here was. Given the status of the Green Cloud Sovereign, he would naturally know of the happenings in Grand Xia. It was just that Qin Wentian didn't know if the Green Cloud Sovereign had come into contact with the Shi ancestor or the Wang ancestor. No matter what, since the Green Cloud Sovereign appeared in Chu, Qin Wentian would definitely have to return to meet him. Other than him, no one else in Chu would be able to suppress the Green Cloud Sovereign. 2 days later, Qin Wentian returned to Chu. The Mo residence naturally became lively again. That lass Mou started to pester Qin Wentian, and it wasn't easy for him to settle this lass. In the courtyard, only Qin Wentian, Mo Qingqing and Little Rascal remained. "The Green Cloud Sovereign has been waiting for you, I wonder what his intentions are." Mo Qingqing spoke. "No matter what his intentions are, we will know when we get there." Qin Wentian smiled. "Be careful." Mo Qingqing had a feeling that the Green Cloud Sovereign was up to no good. "Don't worry, no matter how strong the Green Cloud Sovereign is, it's impossible for him to trap me here." Qin Wentian still had this bit of confidence. In addition, the Green Cloud Sovereign couldn't be that strong. At the very most, there would be other transcendent characters of Grand Xia present. But at the very least, he would be able to retreat unscathed. As long as he didn't die, those transcendent characters of Grand Xia wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he soared through the air. When he was very far away from the Drunken Wine Inn, Qin Wentian's tyrannical perception enveloped the entire place. In fact, the entire area was within Qin Wentian's perception. The Drunken Wine Inn was very lively, there were many people coming and going, but the third level of the inn was extremely quiet. Qin Wentian could sense the existence of a black-robed man. This black-robed man was the strongest here, at the celestial phenomenon realm. Other than the black-robed man, he could easily see through the cultivation bases of the others. Could it be that the Green Cloud Sovereign isn't here for revenge? Qin Wentian silently mused. At this moment, the eyes of the Green Cloud Sovereign abruptly opened, gleaming with sharpness. From the third level of the inn, his gaze directly penetrated through space, staring in the direction of Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian knew that the Green Cloud Sovereign already knew of his existence. Stepping out, his silhouette landed on the third level of the Drunken Wine Inn. He saw the Green Cloud Sovereign and the others, as well as Ling Yu and the others behind him. "Brother-in-law!" Ling Yu called out. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly. After which, he turned to the Green Cloud Sovereign and asked, "Why do you want to see me?" "Actually, it's not that I want to see you." The Green Cloud Sovereign laughed. As he spoke, an old man who was sweeping the floor outside the inn suddenly put down his broom and inclined his head. His robes were extremely ordinary and he exuded no aura at all, completely resembling an ordinary old man who had already stepped into his 70s. But at this instant, the look in his eyes was actually so terrifying. Instantly, astral light flashed in the sky as a terrifying constellation appeared, enveloping the entire inn. The passers-by all inclined their heads, and when they saw this sudden scene, their hearts pounded violently. When they stared at this constellation, it was like they saw an ancient astral tree with incomparably gigantic vines that enveloped this entire space. Those vines were like countless tentacles that directly swept towards the inn, instantly enveloping it within. Chapter 675. Qin Wentian naturally discovered this situation. The instant the constellation outside erupted, he could already feel the tyrannical aura. His eyes stared at the Green Cloud Sovereign as a terrifying killing intent flashed in his eyes. Evidently, the Green Cloud Sovereign had colluded with an extremely powerful expert. This expert had the ability to conceal his aura and aura. Qin Wentian's perception was already extremely powerful, but he actually failed to notice that this ordinary-looking old man was actually so terrifying to think that he would be able to sense such a terrifying aura. Qin Wentian stared at the cold smile on the lips of the Green Cloud Sovereign. His eyes were filled with mockery, looking at Qin Wentian like he was looking at a clown. Killing someone from his Green Cloud Pavilion? Not putting him, the Green Cloud Sovereign, in his eyes? Very good, I shall take his life then. Even if his name shook Grand Xia and he had the strength to slay celestial phenomenon ascendants, this time around, he would still die for sure. Brother-in-law! Ling Yu exclaimed in shock. Her countenance instantly paled. There was actually a powerful ambush waiting for Qin Wentian here. She didn't know any of this, but the appearance of Qin Wentian had something to do with her and her family. This caused Ling Yu to feel extremely uncomfortable in her heart as a sense of guilt welled up in her heart. It was like she was the one who betrayed Qin Wentian. In truth, Ling Yu was thinking too much. Since the Green Cloud Sovereign appeared in Chu, Qin Wentian had to meet with him no matter what. The Green Cloud Sovereign was very clear of this point because in Chu, only Qin Wentian could suppress the Green Cloud Sovereign. If the Green Cloud Sovereign chose to kill his family, how could he not appear? The Green Cloud Sovereign chose such a peaceful method. Firstly, he didn't want to attract his attention. Secondly, before Qin Wentian walked right into the trap, he wouldn't dare to act recklessly. It has nothing to do with you. Qin Wentian spoke. At this moment, the entire inn trembled violently. The ancient vines wrapped around the inn tightly as numerous sharp tentacles pierced into the interior of the inn, causing fresh blood to spurt out. Arg! Save me! Below the inn, screams of misery rang out unceasingly. Those tentacles mercilessly reaped the lives of the people in the inn. After which, they shot towards Qin Wentian, resembling a bloody maw, wanting to devour Qin Wentian whole. This was a gigantic net, sealing off all paths of escape. Qin Wentian's countenance instantly turned ashen. He could clearly sense that the innocent people in the inn were all killed just like that. The sharp vines pierced through their bodies, and many corpses were still dangling from the vines. It was a ghastly sight to behold. That old man was actually so deranged, killing people like flies. In his eyes, life was so lowly and lowly. Bzz. The scarlet demon halberd appeared in his hands. Qin Wentian brandished it and ferociously slashed out. Resplendent illusory demonic energy was infused into his attack, slicing towards the incoming vines. With a thunderous boom, the vines were directly shattered. The experts from the Green Cloud Sovereign and the Green Cloud Pavilion had already vanished. Other than the corpses, only Qin Wentian remained in the inn. He was trapped within his constellation. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the air. The inn had already been destroyed by the attacks of the vines. Above his head, a constellation could be seen. This constellation was in the form of a gigantic vine that blotted out the sun. Countless vine tentacles extended downwards, enveloping this entire space. "Who are you?" Qin Wentian coldly spoke. "Among the hegemons of Grand Xia, there shouldn't be such a person." In the air, astral light flowed. Below the vine constellation, another constellation actually appeared. Dual constellation. The cold light in Qin Wentian's eyes grew even more resplendent. He stared at the constellation, only to see the silhouette of the old man shuttling through the constellation, vanishing into thin air. Within the constellation, there were many ghostly silhouettes. The two constellations gradually fused together, fusing into one. Qin Wentian felt an intense sense of danger. The opponent in front of him was far more terrifying compared to Ouyang Mutian and the celestial phenomenon ascendants from the Pill Emperor Hall. Qin Wentian extended his perception to the extreme, yet he still had no way to sense the existence of the old man. The second constellation that the old man comprehended clearly had the ability to conceal his true body. Borrowing the power of the constellation, Qin Wentian had no way to sense the location of the old man's true body. Those vine tentacles which had been squirming all this while finally moved, launching their attacks at the same instant. The speed of their attacks was so fast that terrifying rumbling sounds echoed in the air. Not only that, all of them blasted out explosively, causing Qin Wentian to have no idea which direction he should attack. Boom! Qin Wentian stepped in the air as demonic qi towered up into the skies. His body expanded in size, as though he had transformed into a fiend god. Resplendent demonic energy circulated around him, as though he was clad in a fearsome armor. Illusion! Qin Wentian roared. Numerous phantoms appeared at the same time, all of them brandishing their halberds, and in that instant, it was as though there were countless Qin Wentian launching their attacks. The vines that shot over were all shattered into pieces. However, the vines were connected to the constellation in the air, and there seemed to be no end to them. Qin Wentian's attack could only last for an instant. Qin Wentian's Yuanfu thrummed madly as his divine energy erupted forth. Instantly, towering sword qi gushed forth in all directions, clashing against the terrifying sharpness of the vines. But even so, it seemed as though he still couldn't block the attack. After all, his opponent was an attack from a constellation, and this wasn't the same as Ouyang Mutian's constellation. If this attack landed on his body, he would definitely be destroyed. "I have to rush out." Qin Wentian stared at the sky as he exuded a towering sword might. His body shuddered as the demon sword was unsheathed. His left palm sliced through the demon sword as fresh blood dyed the sword red. A demonic blood-colored light shone brilliantly as sword hums filled the skies, wanting to destroy everything. "Die!" Qin Wentian roared. Wielding the scarlet demon halberd in his right hand and the demon sword in his left, a terrifying killing intent gushed forth from him. His entire person seemed to be enveloped by sword qi, and this was the only reason why he could unceasingly rush upwards. In the air, the vines were boundless, attacking madly. It was the same in other directions as well. Qin Wentian struggled to rush upwards. If it wasn't for the sword might tearing everything apart, he wouldn't even be able to advance an inch. Too powerful. This celestial phenomenon ascendant who came to assassinate him could most probably insta-kill a Pill King. Bzzz. Abruptly, Qin Wentian saw a pair of eyes appearing in the air. These eyes were so soul-stirring that it caused his entire body to turn cold. The demon sword slashed out in anger as a terrifying sword light slashed through the countless vines in the air. However, that pair of eyes abruptly vanished. From the right, terrifying ancient vines coiled towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's right hand violently smashed out with the scarlet demon halberd, destroying the ancient vines. But after that, he saw that pair of ice-cold eyes again, eyes so cold that it could even cause one's soul to shiver. Bzzz. A grey-colored silhouette wielding a long black spear dashed out. He was sent here by the vines, and his speed was inconceivably fast. Not only that, the instant when Qin Wentian's scarlet demon halberd was about to dissipate the force of the attack, his timing was impeccable. At this moment, Qin Wentian felt as though his mental state had turned sluggish, even the flow of his blood had slowed down. That ice-cold feeling engulfed his entire body, causing his movements to slow down. The terrifying long spear pierced into the scarlet demon halberd, Qin Wentian's hands trembled. That ice-cold feeling, as well as the fearsome tremor, actually caused the scarlet demon halberd to slip out of his hands. After which, the long spear pierced towards his head. Qin Wentian instantly felt as though his brain couldn't function properly. The darkness energy contained within that long spear was extremely terrifying. All of this happened in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, so fast that Qin Wentian didn't even have time to think. Such a powerful assassin was simply too terrifying. At this moment, the only thing left for Qin Wentian was despair. However, at this moment, a terrifying blood-colored radiance erupted from Qin Wentian's body. That was the roar of his bloodline as a terrifying demonic shadow appeared. This demonic shadow was like a terrifying humanoid demonic beast, forcibly peeling itself out from Qin Wentian's body. The demonic shadow lifted its palms and blasted out towards his opponent. Puchi. The long spear that was circulating with a terrifying black-colored energy pierced into the demonic shadow's palm and even into its body. However, the demonic shadow's palm similarly slammed onto the opponent's body. That blood-colored palm imprint was none other than the star-plucking palm imprint, capable of shaking the sun, moon and stars. The grey-robed old man was actually sent flying as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Evidently, he didn't expect that Qin Wentian would have such a sudden attack. What is that? The old man stared at the demonic shadow that appeared. This demonic shadow seemed to be based on Qin Wentian, but it was even more berserk. There were no emotions in its cold eyes, and it wouldn't die. That terrifying attack earlier had pierced into his body, yet it didn't manage to kill him. The demonic shadow and Qin Wentian fused together. The demon sword slashed out horizontally, severing the countless vines that were attacking him. His eyes were incomparably cold as he stared fixedly at the grey-robed old man in front of him. Bloodline protection. The eyes of the grey-robed old man flashed with a strange light as he felt shock in his heart. The bloodline of this young man was actually so terrifying, to think that it could even manifest a bloodline protection. Bloodline protection? Qin Wentian felt a little puzzled. This was the first time he heard of bloodline protection. That demonic shadow earlier was indeed born from the power of his bloodline. Back then when he comprehended the true intent of demons, his bloodline had gone berserk, resulting in the birth of this ability. This was the second ability derived from the power of his bloodline. The first ability allowed him to grow stronger, allowing him to directly break through to the next realm. The grey-robed old man, on the other hand, was extremely shocked. Bloodline protection was a type of bloodline innate technique, and those who possessed such an innate technique were all people with extremely powerful bloodlines. In that case, Qin Wentian's ancestors definitely had extremely powerful bloodlines. Such a character, in the entire royal sacred region, it would be extremely difficult to find a second one. At the very least, up until now, he had only seen Qin Wentian. If it wasn't for the fact that he had lived for so many years, and had read countless ancient texts, he wouldn't even know what the scene earlier was. Who is this young man? I have to kill him no matter what. The heart of the grey-robed old man was as cold as ice. The killing intent in his pitch-black eyes grew even more intense. The ascendants of Grand Xia hired you to kill me, right? Qin Wentian's voice was ice-cold. The opponent in front of him was extremely dangerous. Chapter 676. At this moment outside the inn, there were many silhouettes gathered. Their gazes were fixed on the constellation in the sky as their hearts pounded wildly. That terrifying constellation enveloped a radius of 10 miles, they couldn't even see Qin Wentian's silhouette. How powerful, is he here to kill Qin Wentian? The return of the legendary character of Qin Wentian, shook the entire country. Who would have thought that he would have such a terrifying opponent outside? That person seems to be the Green Cloud Sovereign. Even the Green Cloud Sovereign can only be a spectator. A few days ago, he came to Chu saying that he wanted to meet with Qin Wentian. In that case, the Green Cloud Sovereign was the one who lured Qin Wentian here. Someone mused. The more they thought about it, the more their hearts trembled. Even the Green Cloud Sovereign of the Green Cloud Pavilion didn't dare to act against Qin Wentian. Instead, he invited an even more powerful expert to kill Qin Wentian. This legendary character of Chu, how strong was he exactly now? Would he die this time around? They stared at the Green Cloud Sovereign, only to see the black-robed Green Cloud Sovereign standing arrogantly in the air with a cold expression on his face. Qin Wentian was dead for sure. This person was someone who had been famous for thousands of years, the most dangerous person in the entire Grand Xia Empire. If he personally acted, he didn't believe that Qin Wentian wouldn't die. This time around, in order to invite him out, the various major powers had to pay a hefty price. Sovereign, why must you do this? Beside the Green Cloud Sovereign, Ling Yu's tears flowed unceasingly. She felt pain in her heart and guilt. This was especially so when she saw the situation ahead. Qin Wentian couldn't even be seen anymore. Evidently, he had fallen into an extremely dangerous situation, trapped by a gigantic net. The Green Cloud Sovereign slowly turned his gaze over only to see Ling Yu's grandfather berating, "Ling Yu, shut up. Grandpa, how can you all make use of me?" Ling Yu cried in agony. She felt heartbroken. If Qin Wentian died, she couldn't imagine the consequences. Ling Yu understood the personality of the Green Cloud Sovereign a little. After all, his methods in the Green Cloud Pavilion were very clear to her. Since he had already decided to become enemies with Qin Wentian, once he killed Qin Wentian, everyone in the entire Chu country who had a connection with Qin Wentian would definitely be silenced. The Green Cloud Sovereign wouldn't have the slightest bit of pity in his heart. He had already killed many people in the Green Cloud Pavilion, and many of those people were acquaintances of his, including his old friends, let alone the relatives of Qin Wentian. Sis Qingcheng, Mo Feng, Mou, and the entire Mo residence. The Green Cloud Sovereign wouldn't spare any of them. When she thought of this, Ling Yu was in so much pain that her entire body convulsed uncontrollably. She was so afraid that these things would happen. Ling Yu. At this moment, a voice drifted over. Ling Yu turned her gaze over, and when she saw Mo Feng, her countenance instantly turned incomparably pale. Brother-in-law, he. Mo Feng stared at the constellation in the sky as his countenance also turned pale. Was there someone stronger than the Green Cloud Sovereign who came to assassinate his brother-in-law? From afar, a silver rock soared through the air. Resplendent silvery light flashed as a raging wind swept up. The gazes of everyone turned over, they were unable to shift their eyes away. How beautiful! Who is this woman? Someone had a dumbfounded expression on his face as he stared fixedly at the beautiful silhouette on the back of the silver rock. Other than the number one beauty of Chu, who else could it be? Someone sighed. Right now, the number one beauty of Chu was simply on a different level compared to Mo Qingqing. Mo Qingqing should forever be the number one beauty of Chu. The instant the Green Cloud Sovereign saw Mo Qingqing, he started. His sharp eyes flickered with a strange light, as though a hint of greed could be seen within. His heart was focused on the path of cultivation, his will was incomparably resolute. Although he was also fond of beauty, it was very rare for him to get close to women. Hence, up until now, he had always been single, without a wife or children. Now, he had already become a celestial phenomenon ascendant with extremely high achievements, a hegemon of the Green Cloud Pavilion. Naturally, he would have some thoughts in his heart, wanting to find a woman who could match up to him. However, his standards were extremely high. Ordinary women, no matter how beautiful they were, how could they be worthy of him, the Green Cloud Sovereign? But this beauty before him truly caused the heart of the Green Cloud Sovereign to waver. How beautiful! His sharp eyes flashed with a hint of greed. As long as Qin Wentian died, the entire Chu country would be his to command. The beauties of Chu would naturally be his to command as well. However, the Green Cloud Sovereign soon frowned. Because from the start to the end, Mo Qingqing didn't even glance at him, directly disregarding him. He didn't know that in Mo Qingqing's heart, he was already a dead man. Regardless of whether Qin Wentian was dead or alive, the moment the Green Cloud Sovereign hired someone to assassinate Qin Wentian, his fate was already sealed. He would die without a doubt. Also, Mo Qingqing firmly believed that nothing would happen to Qin Wentian. In the constellation, the grey-robed old man didn't reply to Qin Wentian. His body vanished once again, but the space was still filled with astral light. Countless vines once again shot towards Qin Wentian. These vines bared their fangs, resembling man-eating vines. As long as one was trapped by this constellation, if one's strength was inferior to the other party, they would definitely die. This was something Qin Wentian understood very well. Hence, if he wanted to live, he had to break apart this constellation and rush out. However, the strength of this grey-robed old man was clearly many times stronger than him. It was impossible for him to break apart this constellation. The demon sword radiated a sword light that tore apart the void. The surroundings were filled with sword might as formless sword chi permeated every inch of space. Rumble. The demon sword expanded, reaching a length of 1,000 meters. Qin Wentian slashed out with his palms, sacrificing his blood to the demon sword. Instantly, the sword might grew even stronger as the humming of swords filled the air, lacerating the vines that were frenziedly attacking him. Qin Wentian didn't dare to allow the vines to get close to him. The grey-robed old man who wanted to assassinate him could appear at any moment. Closing his eyes, Qin Wentian kept the scarlet demon halberd away. His perception was pushed to the limits, probing this entire space. The sword might was everywhere, moving according to his will. Swish. The terrifying vines once again rushed over from all directions. This time around, Qin Wentian didn't slash them apart. He closed his eyes, as though he didn't see anything. A boundless divine glow radiated from his body. Qi. Qin Wentian pulled the demon sword up into the air as the sword humming grew increasingly terrifying. Those vines were unceasingly being attacked by the sword Qi, clashing against each other. Boom! The incomparably thick man-eating vines blasted towards Qin Wentian. With an intention of his will, Qin Wentian spun the demon sword and in an instant, a storm of destruction manifested in his surroundings, slashing apart all the vines that got too close to him. Your strength isn't bad. A voice drifted out from the void, unceasingly reverberating throughout this space. I initially thought that a single strike would be sufficient to kill you. Or perhaps, I could even rely on my constellation to kill you. However, you have truly surprised me. That voice drifted out once more. However, it's impossible for there to be any mistakes in the people I want to kill. You will still die for sure. In my next attack, I will take your life. Qin Wentian remained unmoved. No matter what the other party said, his will would always be as resolute as ever. Regardless of whether the words spoken by the other party were true or false, or if the other party was simply arrogant, he couldn't lose his composure. Being able to remain calm in the face of danger was the foundation of an expert. He had already made his preparations to face any situation. As the voice drifted out, swishing sounds rang out unceasingly. The vines were still frenziedly attacking Qin Wentian, yet before they could even get close to Qin Wentian, they were already destroyed by the sword might. At this moment, in the airspace above Qin Wentian, another constellation circulated as numerous silhouettes suddenly appeared. Each of these silhouettes was clad in black robes and looked exactly the same, like a mirror image. They had the exact same appearance, the exact same expression, and the exact same aura. What kind of constellation is this? Qin Wentian opened his eyes and stared at the sky. The constellations condensed by different experts were all different. Once a constellation was formed, one would be able to sense the true intent contained within. The mysterious constellation before his eyes gave Qin Wentian a feeling that it was even more dangerous compared to the ancient vine constellation. The ancient vine constellation gave birth to ancient vines. It was an extremely powerful ability to control constellations. In that case, other than the ability to conceal one's presence, there was a high possibility that this constellation contained other powers as well. The light from the constellation cascaded downwards. At this instant, Qin Wentian saw the constellation flowing downwards, formless and formless. Those black-robed silhouettes flickered unceasingly as they appeared in different locations. Bzzz. A terrifying long spear directly pierced towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian waved his palms as sword whistled through the air, slashing out explosively, transforming into a tempest of destruction. However, the darkness energy contained within the long spear of the black-robed silhouette directly broke apart the tempest of destruction. The blood in Qin Wentian's body seethed as the bloodline protection appeared once more. He blasted out with both his palms, wanting to destroy the heavens and earth. But at this moment, the constellation rotated and the black-robed silhouette actually vanished. A terrifying sense of danger gushed over as a destructive might gushed out from the other side of Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian's entire body to turn cold. Rumble. A sword manifested as millions of sharp swords blasted out. However, the black-robed silhouette's attack was as fast as lightning, penetrating through the sword light and slamming into Qin Wentian's shoulder, directly opening up a bloody hole. After a single strike, he fled, incomparably cautious. Although the grey-robed old man's combat prowess was many times stronger compared to Qin Wentian, because he had suffered from the bloodline protection before, he was still extremely cautious when he fought. This was the main reason why he was able to survive for so long. What he was most proficient in was hunting and assassination. He would first surround and hunt before slowly killing his opponent. In the blink of an eye, the body of the grey-robed old man changed several positions. Those vines were still frenziedly coiling over, and Qin Wentian had no way to defend against them. Very swiftly, many bloody holes appeared on his body, directly penetrating through his flesh. If it wasn't for his quick reflexes, he would have already died. If this continued on, it wouldn't be long before Qin Wentian would be tortured to death. The encirclement ability of the grey-robed old man was extremely strong, but luckily, his direct attacks weren't as strong as his encirclement abilities. If not, that first strike would have already been a calamity for Qin Wentian. The 4 Yuan Fu within Qin Wentian's body started to seethe madly, circulating to every single meridian in his body. Even the sword might from the demon sword was channeled towards Qin Wentian. At this instant, Qin Wentian's body seemed to be burning as a destructive sword might gushed forth from him. In just a short instant, Qin Wentian's countenance turned pale white, as though his spirit, energy, and energy were all burning up. Although his aura was still at the heavenly Dipper realm, the aura he exuded was even more terrifying compared to celestial phenomenon ascendance. What is he doing? The countenance of the gray-robed old man turned incredibly unsightly. Qin Wentian's left hand grabbed onto the demon sword as he abruptly lifted his right hand, placing it in the air as he stared at the gray-robed old man who was preparing to launch another attack. Have you gone mad? The gray-robed old man saw how pale Qin Wentian's countenance was, yet his strength had already soared to an unprecedented level. He instantly understood what Qin Wentian wanted to do. He unleashed a terrifying technique that required self-immolation as the price, injuring himself in order to unleash an attack that surpassed his limits. Bzzz. The gray-robed old man actually turned and disappeared into his constellation. This fellow must have gone mad. He didn't even say a single word before activating such a terrifying killing technique, disregarding all consequences. Die! Qin Wentian's palms sliced through the air. In that instant it was as though a heaven-rending sword had slashed through the skies, directly cleaving apart the constellation in half. Chapter 677. The constellation was slashed apart. Two constellations were cleaved apart at the same time, cleanly and cleanly. The familiar sky once again appeared above Qin Wentian. At the instant he slashed out with his sword, his entire aura seemed to have dissipated as his countenance turned as pale as paper. Back then, he once transformed into a great rock and unleashed the immortal vanquishing swordplay. This immortal art was different from the other immortal arts he had cultivated. It required him to burn his own self as the price to unleash the strongest attack, drawing out all of his vitality, including his life force. Qin Wentian didn't know that if it wasn't for the fact that his life force was incomparably vigorous, he wouldn't have been able to endure the repeated usage of the immortal vanquishing swordplay. However, the might of this sword strike was clear to see. His original strength was already much stronger compared to when he transformed into a great rock. Hence, it was much easier to control the power of the demon divinities in the 8 directions. The spectators only saw a beam of sword light suddenly appearing in the airspace above the sealed battlefield. This beam of sword light tore apart the sky, and after that, the constellation vanished. Their hearts pounded violently. Has the battle ended? Where did that beam of sword light come from? Did Qin Wentian die? The gray-robed old man and Qin Wentian both appeared in the air at the same time. The two of them stood there unmoving. Qin Wentian wielded the demon sword in his left hand as sword might circulated around him. His robes were tattered and his entire body was dyed red with fresh blood. One could see how intense the battle was. The gray-robed old man quietly stood there weren't any injuries on his body. His eyes were cold to the extreme, causing people to feel fear. Brother-in-law. Mo Feng and Lingyu mumbled, their gazes unmoving as they stared at Qin Wentian. Mo Qingqing had already stepped out and instantly appeared beside Qin Wentian. She took out a medicinal pill and directly fed it into Qin Wentian's mouth. Qin Wentian swallowed it and took out a set of white robes. Mo Qingqing received it and draped it over Qin Wentian, acting like a virtuous wife. She didn't say anything or ask anything. She could sense that right now, Qin Wentian wasn't in a good condition. It seemed that he had been suppressing his injuries. Let's go. Mo Qingqing spoke. The experts of the Mo residence all nodded as they started to retreat. The silver rock flew to Qin Wentian's feet and with a flap of its wings, it retreated. Qin Wentian already returned the demon sword to its original position. His gaze was still fixed on the gray-robed old man ahead of him. Upon seeing the coldness in his eyes, the gray-robed old man didn't move an inch. The silvery rock whistled through the air as its silhouette gradually vanished. During this process, the Green Cloud Sovereign's countenance turned ashen, but he didn't act recklessly. At this moment, he felt a chill in his heart. Qin Wentian actually didn't die. Even with such an attack, he still failed to kill Qin Wentian. He looked at the gray-robed old man, and with a soft sound, the gray-robed old man coughed up a mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned pale, and the aura in his body fluctuated. His body trembled slightly as if he was in extreme pain. Phew! Taking a deep breath, the gray-robed elder stabilized his fluctuating aura and stared at the disappearing figure. It had failed. The assassination attempt had actually ended in failure. I won't accept your mission. The gray-robed elder stared at the green cloud sovereign. Why? The battle has yet to end and Qin Wentian is already an arrow at the end of its flight. Why didn't you kill him earlier? The green cloud sovereign's countenance turned incredibly unsightly when he heard the words of the gray-robed elder. An arrow at the end of its flight. Why didn't you act? The gray-robed elder stared at the gray-robed elder. This matter no longer has anything to do with me. Farewell. After speaking, he flicked his sleeves and directly departed the area, vanishing in the blink of an eye. When he was far away, the gray-robed elder coughed out a few more mouthfuls of blood as he sped downwards. He didn't kill Qin Wentian. He basically didn't have the strength to kill Qin Wentian anymore. If he continued to risk his life, it was unknown who would be the one to die. After the gray-robed elder left, the green cloud sovereign felt extremely unbearable. The assassination attempt today was specially set up for Qin Wentian. Also, the person who planned this was none other than him, the green cloud sovereign. He knew that Qin Wentian would definitely come because he, the green cloud sovereign, was in Chu and Qin Wentian's family was also there. If Qin Wentian didn't come, Qin Wentian would die for sure. But the ending didn't turn out as he wished. Qin Wentian actually didn't die. Even the gray-robed elder failed to kill Qin Wentian. In that case, once Qin Wentian recovered, who would be the first person he would kill? It would be him, the green cloud sovereign. You want me to bear the responsibility for this matter alone? Impossible. The green cloud sovereign's heart turned cold as he commanded, bring Lingyue back. After speaking, his silhouette flickered as he sped away. This tempest instantly engulfed the entire Chu country. However, Qin Wentian, who was in the center of it, had already returned to the Mo residence. In Mo Qingqing's room, Qin Wentian lay on the ground, completely devoid of energy. He was already doing his best to control the immortal vanquishing swordplay, unleashing the sword might before he was completely drained. But even so, the instant the immortal vanquishing swordplay was activated, his essence, qi, and spirit were all sucked dry as his life force was ignited. Qingqing, during this period of time, the Mo residence might be in danger. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. Let me temporarily send you away. Since you are not in Chu, no one would dare to act recklessly. Before this, they didn't take any drastic measures because they were afraid of your revenge. Mo Qingqing sat beside Qin Wentian as she spoke in a gentle voice. Qin Wentian naturally understood this as well. This was why he was at ease when he allowed the Azure Emperor Palace to relocate. In fact, he didn't even care about the other party threatening him with his family and friends in Chu. It was because he understood that before Qin Wentian killed him, Qin Wentian, those ascendants wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Not only did Qin Wentian have family and friends, those ascendants all had children and grandchildren. Also, all of them lived in the 9 continents of Grand Xiao. If they dared to touch his family and friends before killing him, Qin Wentian, how could they be so irrational? They would rather die indiscriminately. Things are different now. Qin Wentian shook his head. They have already hired people to assassinate me, shredding all pretense of cordiality. The Green Cloud Sovereign naturally knows that I will definitely kill him. In that case, he would definitely take the risk and spare no expense to kill me. Things will no longer be the same as before. If I leave, he might use some extreme methods to kill me. Hence, I cannot leave. Mo Qingqing stared at that pale countenance, yet there was still a resolute look on his face. She felt as though her heart was about to melt. She laid beside Qin Wentian, hugging Qin Wentian. She knew that what Qin Wentian said was right. In the past, before they shredded all pretense of cordiality, those ascendants wouldn't dare to offend Qin Wentian too much before Qin Wentian died. But now, things were different. They had already assassinated him, why would they still be afraid of shredding all pretense of cordiality? If Qin Wentian left, they might use Qin Wentian's family and friends to threaten him. No matter what, I will stay by your side. Mo Qingqing didn't try to persuade him any further. She naturally understood Qin Wentian's personality. Since he had already made his decision, he wouldn't change it. She would respect his decision. The wedding date isn't far away, the people from the royal sacred region should be arriving soon. If they really dare to act, Qingqing, you should tell them your identity. I believe that would be sufficient to deter them. Qin Wentian gently caressed Mo Qingqing's face as he spoke in a gentle voice, I need to rest. Emichim, I won't disturb you. I will stay by your side to accompany you. Mo Qingqing obediently replied. Everyone in the Mo residence was worried about Qin Wentian's injuries. However, Mo Qingqing and Qin Wentian didn't take a single step out of the room. Everything seemed very calm, but behind them, a terrifying tempest could erupt at any moment. Qin Chuan and Qin Yao also came to the Mo residence, wanting to know how Qin Wentian was doing. However, they didn't manage to see Qin Wentian at all. A few days later, news circulated out of the royal capital of Chu. In Grand Xia, several transcendent powers on the same level as the Green Cloud Pavilion and Misty Peak had sent people to the royal capital. Not only that, these people were the leaders of these transcendent powers, the true hegemons of Grand Xia. This news truly frightened everyone in the royal capital. These people were all characters on the same level as the Green Cloud Sovereign, or perhaps even stronger. They all came together to a small country like Chu, and it seemed that they were all here for Qin Wentian. The atmosphere in the Mo residence was incomparably tense. They didn't know what kind of tempest Qin Wentian had stirred up in the past, but when they heard that so many transcendent powers were enemies of Qin Wentian, how could they not be shocked? Not only that, right now, Qin Wentian's injuries were still unknown. The moment these people arrived, they directly occupied the royal palace of Chu. They came in a domineering manner, wanting to kill their way to the Mo residence. In the great hall of the royal palace, the emperor and his ministers were all chased away. The transcendent powers all turned their gazes to the Green Cloud Sovereign as they asked, what happened in that battle exactly? Why didn't Qin Wentian die? Why didn't the Dark Shadow Sovereign mention anything about it and refuse to continue the assassination? I have no idea, but the Dark Shadow Sovereign and Qin Wentian are definitely injured. If not, given Qin Wentian's personality, do you all think he would be able to endure it? The Green Cloud Sovereign stared at the crowd as he spoke. His injuries are not light. Why don't you directly kill your way over and kill him? If his injuries are not light, why is he still here in Chu? The Wang ancestor questioned. Qin Wentian survived the assassination attempt of the Dark Shadow Sovereign, breaking through his constellation and injuring the Dark Shadow Sovereign. Qin Wentian was simply too terrifying. Although they wanted Qin Wentian to die immediately, they didn't dare to directly kill their way over. They still had some suspicions in their hearts. Kill my way over. This matter was instigated by all of you. But now, it has become my problem. The Green Cloud Sovereign coldly laughed. Now that we're all here, the one who hired the Dark Shadow Sovereign to assassinate Qin Wentian knows very well that we have no other choice but to kill our way over and take Qin Wentian's life. If not, we can only wait for revenge. As for what we should do, I'm more clear than you all. If you all don't wish to kill me, at most I can just give up on the Green Cloud Pavilion and leave this place. I have no worries, I'm not like all of you who have children and grandchildren. You. The Wang ancestor's countenance turned cold. The Green Cloud Sovereign fearlessly stared back at him. These old foxes actually wanted to stay out of this matter. Was it possible for him to act alone? Stop arguing. Since things have already come to this, we truly have no other choice. The sure ancestor spoke. Either they kill Qin Wentian or they wait for death. Since this is the case, things are much simpler. Should we directly kill our way over now, or should we threaten Qin Wentian to come over and see if he would show up or not? The Green Cloud Sovereign calmly spoke. Chapter 678. Since the ascendants of Grand Xia arrived in Chu, Fairy Qingmei and the rest naturally arrived as well. Fairy Qingmei, Old Xing, the sect leader of the Mystic Moon Hall, the old matriarch of the Mystic Moon Hall, and the Vice Palace Lord of the Azure Emperor Palace, Chu Lanjiang, a total of 5 celestial phenomenon ascendants had all arrived. When they stepped into the Mo residence, the entire Mo residence was shocked. The auras of these 5 were simply too powerful. Just by casually walking over, one could faintly sense the might of a hegemon. With a single glance, no one dared to match their gaze. The people of the Mo residence were all trembling with trepidation. Old Mo personally came out to welcome them. He had no idea who these people were. Fairy Qingmei and the rest swept their senses over. After which, they walked towards the Mo residence. Mo Qingqing's silhouette stepped out, meeting with them in midair. Fairy Qingmei contemplated Mo Qingqing for a moment before asking, "Is the sect leader still doing well?" "He's resting." Mo Qingqing spoke. "Let's go down and talk." "Right." Fairy Qingmei smiled. Staring at Mo Qingqing's demeanor, she couldn't help but be reminded of Qin Er. Both of them were so outstanding, no wonder Qin Wentian couldn't bear to part with them. The Mo residence was shaken once again. These 5 supreme experts were actually the subordinates of Qin Wentian. "I heard that the situation in Chu is extremely unfavorable to the sect leader. The other experts should have already arrived in Chu." After sitting down in the courtyard, the Mo residents prepared a banquet for Mo Qingqing to receive them. "We'll deal with the situation when it comes." Mo Qingqing replied. "Why don't you bring the sect leader away?" Fairy Qingmei asked. Mo Qingqing shook her head. "He's afraid of implicating the others and is unwilling to leave. There's no harm in this matter, everyone should be confident." Fairy Qingmei stared at Mo Qingqing, her misty eyes gleaming with a resplendent light. After which, she smiled and nodded. "Since Madam's sect leader has said this, we naturally believe that the sect leader would be able to survive this calamity. Shall we wait here?" "Let's wait, they should be arriving soon." Mo Qingqing calmly spoke. Although Mo Qingqing said this, Fairy Qingmei and the rest were still extremely worried. Would they really be able to retreat unscathed? Just like what Mo Qingqing had predicted, the ascendants of Grand Xia directly killed their way to the Mo residence. Since they had already hired the Dark Shadow Sovereign to assassinate Qin Wentian, both sides had already formed a blood feud. In that case, they could only kill Qin Wentian in a single blow. They no longer had a path of retreat. Even before they descended, a terrifying might swept through the entire Mo residence, causing the entire place to tremble. Mo Qingqing led Fairy Qingmei and the others in the air, and from afar, they could already see the experts descending. Over 10 celestial phenomenon ascendants gathered together. This was the strongest force in Grand Xia right now. A destructive might enveloped every corner of the Mo residence, causing everyone to tremble. They inclined their heads and stared at the silhouettes of the various hegemons in the air as the shock in their hearts grew to the extreme. This time, was the Mo residence going to be finished? As expected, you guys have arrived. The eyes of the ascendants flickered with coldness when they saw Fairy Qingmei and the others. As expected, Qin Wentian was still in the Mo residence, recuperating from his injuries. "What do you guys want by coming to my residence?" Mo Qingqing stared at them as she asked. "Your residence." The Green Cloud Sovereign seemed to have heard something ridiculous. Could it be that Mo Qingqing still didn't know what would happen? Mo Qingqing, Qin Wentian has slaughtered indiscriminately in Grand Xia. Today, we of Grand Xia have to get rid of this poisonous tumor. Everyone in the Mo residence is simply courting death by associating with him. The Shi ancestor coldly spoke. I advise you all to scram. Today, only one person from the Mo residence died. I dare to guarantee that in the future, blood will flow like rivers in Grand Xia. All of your clans or sects will be razed to flat ground. Mo Qingqing's voice was ice cold. Her eyes flickered with a coldness that came from the depths of her heart, causing the hearts of those who heard it to tremble. Don't know what you're talking about. Are you trying to scare us? The Wang ancestor coldly laughed. I'm scaring you all. Mo Qingqing stared at the Wang ancestor. Grand Xia is known by the royal sacred region as a place of desolation. No one is willing to step foot in there, and any random power in the royal sacred region can destroy the entire Grand Xia. Qin Wentian wants to unify Grand Xia, but because Grand Xia is too weak, so weak that it's pitiful. In the future, as long as there's a power that wishes to do so, they would be able to sweep through Grand Xia. Me and Qin Wentian returned from the royal sacred region for the sake of our grand wedding, hence we didn't bring any experts from our sects with us. If not, how could you all dare to be so arrogant here? Mo Qingqing stared at the Wang ancestor. If not, why do you all think that the once arrogant elder of the royal sacred sect, Junyu, didn't appear when the Pill Emperor Hall was destroyed? Also, I wonder if anyone from the Hua clan came here. Right now, Hua Taishu has already become a disciple of the core faction of the royal sacred sect. If you all are still limited to a mere Grand Xia, that would truly be too lamentable. The countenance of the Hua ancestor stiffened. Hua Taishu had become a disciple of the core faction. He didn't know what the core faction meant, but from Mo Qingqing's tone, it seemed that they were extremely powerful. Is what you said true? The Hua ancestor asked. Hua Taishu and Qin Wentian entered the immortal martial realm together. Qin Wentian became the top ranker of the immortal martial realm, while Hua Taishu and another heaven chosen were ranked second. They received an invitation from the core faction of the royal sacred sect, and their statuses are much higher compared to Junyu. Whether you believe me or not, I'll only say this much today. If you all leave, I'll give each of you an invitation to attend my wedding with Qin Wentian and everything will be made clear. As for what you all are worried about, the unification of Grand Xia is a must, but Wentian wouldn't want to annihilate all of you. However, since you all came here again today, let me warn you one last time. If you all don't retreat today, there will be no more room for negotiation. Even if you kill me and Qin Wentian, the entire Grand Xia will be buried together with us. Each of Mo Qingqing's words were extremely sharp. The hegemons of Grand Xia were all stunned by her words. They were speechless for a long time, as though they were pondering over Mo Qingqing's words. Just based on Mo Qingqing's demeanor alone, she had already undergone a complete transformation in the royal sacred region. Hua Taishu had already become a core disciple of the royal sacred sect, but what about her and Qin Wentian? Was there even a need to say more? When the people of the Mo residence heard Mo Qingqing's words, they faintly understood how domineering Qin Wentian and Mo Qingqing were outside. Qin Wentian wanted to unify the entire Grand Xia. Don't be bewitched by her words. The reason why she said this today is because she knows she is weak. Don't forget how domineering Qin Wentian was earlier. If we don't seize this opportunity to kill Qin Wentian, there won't be a second chance. The Wang ancestor coldly spoke. All of them were old monsters that had lived for countless years. They wouldn't easily trust others, let alone be frightened. Right now, we are the ones with the initiative. But if we wait for Qin Wentian to recover, things might change. The Green Cloud Sovereign also coldly spoke. The words of the two of them instantly extinguished the thoughts in the hearts of the hegemons. Indeed, although Mo Qingqing's words caused them to be shocked, it was also because Mo Qingqing knew that they were at a disadvantage now. Today was the best opportunity to kill Qin Wentian. Everyone, why are you all still not coming out? At this moment, the Shi ancestor coldly spoke. The others weren't surprised, they all knew that there were still people hiding in the shadows. And indeed, as the sound of his voice faded, several more people appeared. Jiang clan, Thousand Zhu Alliance, are you all preparing to join our alliance? The Wang ancestor stared at the newcomers. There were 4 among them, they were celestial phenomenon ascendants from the Jiang clan and Thousand Zhu Alliance. Right now, this tiny Chu country would decide the future of Grand Xia. The gazes of Grand Xia were all focused here. In the Ouyang aristocrat clan, the alliance has already been formed. Which side do the 2 of you from the Jiang clan intend to stand on? Fairy Qin Mei asked. This was the wedding between Ouyang Guangsheng and Jiang Ting. Logically speaking, the Jiang clan should stand on their side. However, the hearts of humans were hard to predict. Who knew what the 2 from the Jiang clan were thinking now? Especially now, they weren't in an advantageous position. The 2 ascendants from the Jiang clan had complicated thoughts in their hearts. Back then, although Qin Wentian didn't bother with them and said on the surface that they could be friends, they didn't have a deep relationship. They understood that Qin Wentian still had some grudges against the Jiang clan. After all, back then, their Jiang clan had always stood on the side of the Ouyang ancestor. If they wanted to erase this grudge, this was a good opportunity. They had all seen Qin Wentian's talent and strength. If Grand Xia was truly unified, those who followed Qin Wentian would definitely be able to become the ruler of a region. But this time around, if they stood on Qin Wentian's side, it would also be extremely dangerous. Danger and opportunity always coexisted, it was up to them to decide. Naturally, back then at the Ouyang aristocrat clan, the Azure Emperor Palace had already formed an alliance with the Jiang clan. Now that Palace Lord Qin is in trouble, the Jiang clan naturally wouldn't stand idly by. An expert from the Jiang clan spoke, his words causing the countenances of the ascendants to turn incredibly unsightly. They then turned to the experts from the Thousand Zhu Alliance and asked, what about the rest of you? Palace Lord Qin is a 5th Zhu guest elder of our Thousand Zhu Alliance. Sadly, he has never exercised the authority of a 5th Zhu guest elder before. But since he is a guest elder of our Thousand Zhu Alliance, since you guys want to deal with him, our Thousand Zhu Alliance will definitely do our best to assist you. The 2 experts from the Thousand Zhu Alliance laughed. As the sound of their voice faded, the countenances of the ascendants grew even more unsightly. In this case, other than Qin Wentian, the Jiang clan now had a total of 9 ascendants. Mo Qingqing thanks everyone on behalf of Wentian. After this matter, I, Mo Qingqing, guarantee that the Jiang clan and the Thousand Zhu Alliance would definitely have a foothold in Grand Xia. Mo Qingqing faintly spoke. Although these words seemed to be polite words, in truth, it was to reassure the hearts of the ascendants from the Jiang clan and the Thousand Zhu Alliance. Why did they take the risk to help Qin Wentian? Wasn't it because of a promise? Do you guys really want to help the evildoer? The Shi clan ancestor coldly spoke as the auras of the group of ascendants erupted forth. Everyone. At this moment, the Hua clan ancestor suddenly spoke. The gazes of everyone turned to him only to hear him speaking, my Hua clan will no longer participate in this matter. Farewell. After speaking, he actually left together with another ascendant from the Hua clan. This caused the countenances of the Shi clan ancestor and the others to turn ashen. Although the strength of the ascendants grew stronger, they were the ones who were weakened instead. But luckily, they still had an absolute advantage. Kill. The Shi clan ancestor coldly spoke. Since things have come to this, there was no way to salvage the situation. If we kill Qin Wentian, all their hopes would be severed. The voice of the Green Cloud Sovereign was ice cold. The crowd nodded their heads. The reason why the Thousand Zhu Alliance and Jiang clan took the risk was because Qin Wentian was simply too outstanding. They didn't want to become a vassal state after Grand Xia was unified. Hence, they decided to gamble today, placing all their hopes on Qin Wentian, this young man who had created so many miracles. Chapter 679. In the royal sacred region, the demonic beasts summoned by Qin Wentian had already returned, sending the invitations to the Medicine Sovereign Valley, Yi Country, and the Battle Sword Sect. This news didn't startle anyone else in the royal sacred region. In the eyes of the experts of the royal sacred region, Grand Xia was a desolate place. Who would cast their gazes on a tiny little country like Chu? Qin Wentian had already vanished from the royal sacred region for several months. Many people guessed that he was in closed-door seclusion and there wasn't much of a surprise. As for those experts who received the invitations, they had already calculated the date and were preparing to depart for Chu. And in the Immortal Palace located in the illusionary mountain range of the royal sacred region, Di Tian was still frenziedly tempering himself. At this moment, the one fighting against Di Tian was a middle-aged man clad in black demonic armor. He was tall and sturdy, and his battle prowess was monstrous. Every time he blasted out a palm imprint, it would seem as though the entire void was shrouded in it, suppressing and killing all enemies. It was extremely powerful. Although Di Tian couldn't sense the combination of true intents within it, he could guess that the palm imprint definitely contained the true intent of space. Di Tian brandished an ancient halberd in his hands as he frenziedly stabbed out. Numerous palm imprints blotted out the skies, burying the space around him within, making it impossible for him to see the outside world. Every time he fought against the middle-aged man, Di Tian would be beaten half to death. If it wasn't for the fact that his opponent showed mercy, he would have already died. Bzzz. Yet another palm imprint blasted out. Di Tian's eyes flashed with coldness as the ancient halberd in his hands blasted out. In that instant, the ancient halberd glowed with a resplendent light as it arced through the air, slashing and piercing. Chi. A resplendent halberd scar was left on the surface of the incoming palm imprint. After that, a surge of destructive energy gushed out in all directions. An incomparably violent destructive energy erupted forth in an instant, directly shattering the palm imprint into smithereens. Good. The middle-aged man stepped out as he blasted out another palm strike, slamming down from the air above Di Tian, exuding a towering might. Bzzz. Di Tian's silhouette soared upwards. His arms danced as the ancient halberd pierced through the air. Everywhere the halberd passed by, a terrifying destructive light erupted forth, containing a fearsome might within. With a thunderous boom, the ancient halberd slammed into the palm imprint, causing it to explode once again. However, the speed of the burly middle-aged man's attacks grew faster and faster, while Di Tian's counterattacks grew more and more ferocious as well. Destructive currents of energy ravaged this entire space. It was as though their energies had been compressed to the extreme. Both of them had extremely strong control over their energies. Finally, when everything stopped, the burly middle-aged man retreated to the side and smiled at Di Tian. Not bad, the power of your demonic sword-type energy has already surpassed the illusory demon force. It can be said to be your strongest attack. Also, if you infuse this energy into your sword or palm arts, the power would be even more fearsome. It's finally perfected. The sword demon force is even more ferocious compared to the illusory demonic energy. In terms of attack power, it can be considered an evolution of the illusory demonic energy, but it lacks the bewitching nature of the illusory demonic energy. It can be considered an extremely powerful attack. Di Tian nodded. Your rate of improvement is simply too shocking. I'm filled with anticipation for the day you defeat us. The burly middle-aged man laughed. During these few days, Di Tian's improvement had been witnessed by all of them. It was simply too shocking. Maybe, Di Tian would really be able to pass the test. I also wish to accomplish this as soon as possible, hoping to gain control of the Immortal Palace. In that case, seniors wouldn't have to endure the torment of being restricted. Di Tian sighed in his heart as he turned his gaze over. From afar, several gazes were staring at him. These gazes were all filled with the light of hope. This caused Di Tian to clench his fists tightly. He would definitely succeed. In the Mo residence of Chu, a great battle was about to erupt. Kill Qin Wentian. The Shi ancestor commanded. Instantly, the experts of the Qin clan stepped out as they unleashed their constellations. In an instant, the entire sky vanished, replaced by a sea of starlight. Stop them. Fairy Qingmei's countenance was incredibly unsightly to behold. She stepped towards the Shi ancestor as she unleashed her shadow glamour constellation. Your choices are truly foolish. The Wang ancestor coldly spoke as he stared at the Jiang ancestor. After which, he stepped towards the Jiang ancestor as a beam of saber light shot out from his constellation, slashing down from the starry space. Humph! The Jiang ancestor coldly snorted as he rushed forward. Let's hope that Qin Wentian still had some trump cards hidden up his sleeves. If not, this battle would truly be extremely dangerous. Everyone from the Mo residence, retreat immediately. Mo Qingqing stood in the air as she shouted. The people of the Mo residence felt a sense of helplessness as they hurriedly retreated. In front of such a powerful expert, let alone speaking of helping, they didn't even have the ability to interfere. On Mo Qingqing's body, wisps of jade-green flames appeared. These flames enveloped her entire body, forming an incomparably resplendent flame armor that enveloped her within. A terrifying incineration might engulf the heavens and earth. This was a treasure left behind by the medicine sovereign, it had the ability to both attack and defend. She retreated, protecting the courtyard where Qin Wentian was at. Very swiftly, she saw a few celestial phenomenon ascendants breaking out of the encirclement. Her brows couldn't help but furrow. Although they already had 9 celestial phenomenon ascendants on their side, the number of ascendants on their side was simply too much. They easily entangled all 9 of them, and at this moment, there were 3 ascendants rushing over. Destroying Qin Wentian was their number 1 mission. Among the 3 ascendants, 1 was from the Star-Seizing Manor, 1 was the Swallow Sword Lord, his attack prowess was extremely terrifying, and the last one was from the Demon Continent. Step aside. The Sword Lord's voice was sharp. He stretched out both his hands and instantly, countless beams of sword light rained down from the sky. Rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly as everything below was reduced to dust as the buildings crumbled. Mo Qingqing radiated a resplendent flame halo, enveloping this entire space, blocking Qin Wentian's path. How can you block the 3 of us? Today, he will die for sure. The Sword Lord faintly spoke. After which, he formed a sword incantation as a constellation manifested around him. A single sword manifested into a total of 9 swords, all of them radiating a destructive glow as they shot towards Mo Qingqing. The flame armor on Mo Qingqing's body burned even more intensely. She punched out with both her fists, causing flames to engulf the heavens and earth, clashing against the sword light. Humph! The celestial phenomenon ascendants of the Demon Continent soared through the air as a myriad of demonic beasts rushed towards Mo Qingqing. Mo Qingqing's countenance turned pale as she unleashed a torrent of flames towards the incoming demonic beasts. At this moment, a terrifying palm imprint slammed down from behind Qin Wentian, directly tearing apart the screen of flames. The Star-Seizing Manor Ascendant directly appeared in the airspace above Qin Wentian. Staring at the sleeping Qin Wentian, his eyes flickered with killing intent. Resplendent astral light circulated in his palms as a palm imprint of annihilation condensed. However, at this very moment, in the midst of the ruins, Qin Wentian abruptly opened his eyes as a terrifying beam of cold light shot out. This beam of cold light actually caused the heart of the Star-Seizing Manor Ascendant to tremble. A third eye appeared in the center of Qin Wentian's brows. Within that eye, a terrifying vortex appeared, causing the entire space to revolve around it. This entire space abruptly dimmed, as though it had transformed into a world controlled by Qin Wentian. After which, Qin Wentian slowly stood up, transforming into a beam of light as he dashed towards the star-seizing manor ascendant. Scram! The ascendant from the star-seizing manor roared in rage. He blasted out with his palms, causing the entire space to tremble as a violent shockwave ravaged the surroundings. The countenance of that ascendant flickered with sharpness as he jabbed his finger into the center of his brows. In the blink of an eye, a brilliant light erupted forth, instantly restoring clarity to the surroundings. In that instant earlier, he had actually fallen into the dreamscape of Qin Wentian. Luckily, his strength was strong and his will was resolute. If he was a heavenly dipper sovereign, a single glance from Qin Wentian would be enough to drag him into the dreamscape. But at this moment, Qin Wentian had already stood up. His finger slid across the demon sword he had just pulled out. Fresh blood dyed the demon sword red as sword chi towered up into the sky. A resplendent glow enveloped his body, as though a terrifying energy had transformed into a suit of armor. "You want to kill me?" Qin Wentian inclined his head. Wielding the blood-stained demon sword in his hand, he slowly walked up into the air. His white robes fluttered in the wind, and although he looked extremely weak, just a single glance from him was enough to cause the ascendant from the star-seizing manor to feel fear. "Do you know how Ouyang Mutian died?" Qin Wentian spoke again. His voice seemed to contain a magical power within, causing the hearts of those who heard it to tremble. "He is already an arrow at the end of its flight. Kill him." The sword lord in the air mocked. Astral light cascaded down onto the ascendant from the star-seizing manor as millions of palm imprints blasted out from his constellation. Qin Wentian continued walking towards him as a storm of destructive sword chi directly tore apart the incoming palm imprints. "Is that so?" An incomparably mocking light flickered in Qin Wentian's eyes as he continued walking towards the ascendant. "Die!" A terrifying astral light erupted forth from the ascendant from the star-seizing manor. His palms blasted out as the light from his palm imprints was even more dazzling compared to the constellations in the sky. Roar! An incomparably terrifying roar of a demonic beast rang out as a silhouette stepped out from Qin Wentian's body. This silhouette was actually in the form of Qin Wentian, it was none other than the Bloodline Protector. The Bloodline Protector blasted out a palm strike, colliding with the palm imprints of the ascendant from the star-seizing manor. Demonic chi engulfed the entire space as the palm imprints exploded apart. The heart of the ascendant from the star-seizing manor trembled. What was that? At this moment, Qin Wentian, who had been nearing him, slashed out with the demon sword in his right hand. The demon sword arced through the air, causing a terrifying vortex of destruction to form in the air. Even space itself was trembling as it crumbled apart. That sword strike didn't look too dazzling, yet it caused the heart of the ascendant from the star-seizing manor to tremble violently. Both his palms blasted out explosively at the same time, yet when the demon sword sliced through the air, everything shattered apart. The instant the demon sword came into contact with the palm imprints actually disintegrated. Puchi. The demon sword directly pierced into the body of the ascendant from the star-seizing manor. It didn't penetrate any of his vitals, but at this instant, the ascendant from the star-seizing manor had an expression of deep terror on his face. Despair. The eyes of the spectators who were fighting in the air all narrowed. Under their gazes, the body of the ascendant from the star-seizing manor was directly disintegrated into nothingness. Qin Wentian caught the floating demon sword as he swept his gaze onto the spectators in the air. "Who else wants to kill me?" Chapter 680. The battle in the air abruptly halted. The gazes of everyone turned to Qin Wentian as their hearts pounded violently. A celestial phenomenon ascendant from the star-seizing manor was slain with a single sword strike. How could that attack earlier be so powerful? Qin Wentian swept his gaze over the crowd. He didn't exude any tyrannical aura, but the mysterious energy radiating from him caused everyone to feel a sense of extreme threat. Qin Wentian wielded the demon sword in his hands as he advanced in the air. On the surface of the sword, motes of light could be seen, leaving behind sword scars in the air. Everywhere Qin Wentian passed by, sword scars would be left behind as the destructive might radiating from him gushed forth in all directions. It was as though as long as one came into contact with it, they would be instantly annihilated, just like what happened to that ascendant from the star-seizing manor. A fusion of true intense, and it's an absolute attack power. The countenances of the ascendants were all incredibly unsightly to behold. Even the strongest among them could only fuse two true intents into their constellations. The vast majority of them could only fuse a single true intent into their martial souls to manifest their constellations. These were the weakest ascendants. Before Qin Wentian stepped into the celestial phenomenon realm, he had already started fusing true intents. Once his constellation was formed, the attack power of his celestial phenomenon would be extremely terrifying. The demon sword hummed, whistling unceasingly as the sword scars in the air grew longer and longer. Qin Wentian slowly walked to the center of the battlefield. His gaze swept over the crowd, trying to kill me when I'm injured. Very good. Now I'll give you guys two choices. 1. Continue to kill me. 2. Scram immediately. I'll be here on the day of my grand wedding and I'll announce how I want to deal with all of you. Qin Wentian's voice was as domineering as ever, so domineering that it caused the hearts of the ascendants to tremble. They were truly afraid of Qin Wentian. Ever since Qin Wentian returned to Grand Xia, he had done too many terrifying things. The first thing he did was to invade the Ouyang aristocrat clan, killing 3 ascendants of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. After that, he reorganized the Azure Emperor Palace and forced the Azure Emperor Palace to relocate to the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia. This was the reason why the Dark Shadow Sovereign tried to assassinate him. However, even Dark Shadow Sovereign failed, leaving injured, to the extent where he didn't even participate anymore, as if he was quite scared of Qin Wentian. All of these had caused Qin Wentian to be injured and lying on the ground. They were still deeply afraid of him. In fact, many of them could have attacked Qin Wentian, but many of them were extremely scheming people. They did not attack him, but chose other opponents instead. They let their opponents entangle them, and let others test Qin Wentian's trump card. And indeed, they saw the death of the ascendant from the star-seizing manor. This death deepened their fear of Qin Wentian. This young man standing in the middle of the battlefield with a demon sword in his hands was truly terrifying. I don't believe that he still has the ability to deal with us. Don't listen to his bluff, he is just trying to scare us. A voice drifted over. From afar, the Green Cloud Sovereign stared coldly at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian looked at him with cold eyes and said sarcastically, "Why are you standing so far away? Come and kill me." The gazes of the crowd landed on the Green Cloud Sovereign only to hear someone speaking, "You go and kill him, we will act as your protectors." The Green Cloud Sovereign frowned, he swept his gaze over to the person who spoke. He wasn't so stupid. What if Qin Wentian went all out? Even if he was an arrow at the end of its flight, he should still be able to kill 1 or 2 of them. If you don't want to come, I will. Qin Wentian stepped out, moving towards the Green Cloud Sovereign, leaving scars in the air. A destructive aura enveloped him as his incomparably sharp eyes stared at the Green Cloud Sovereign, causing the latter to feel a deep sense of fear. The Green Cloud Sovereign's countenance turned ashen. Everyone, attack together. He definitely won't be able to withstand it. Nobody bothered with him. These people wouldn't care about the life or death of the Green Cloud Sovereign. It was better to let the Green Cloud Sovereign probe Qin Wentian's strength. Seeing that nobody bothered with him, the Green Cloud Sovereign's countenance turned incredibly unsightly. You all are useless. Since this is the case, all of you can just wait for your deaths. After speaking, his silhouette abruptly turned and directly fled, vanishing from this place in the blink of an eye. Staring at the vanishing Green Cloud Sovereign, Qin Wentian didn't chase after him. He turned his gaze to the others. These ascendants were actually so frightened by Qin Wentian that none of them dared to act. One couldn't help but to say that this was a kind of irony. Humans would always have their own selfish motives. Nobody was willing to be the first to act. Earlier, the death of the expert from the star-seizing manor was witnessed by everyone. You don't dare to kill me, but you still refuse to scram. Qin Wentian glanced at the silent crowd before moving towards the second person. This time around, he chose an expert from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect. That person had an ashen expression as he stared at the others. Right now, everyone was still hesitating whether they should fight to the death today or not. Fine, I will act first. That expert from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect roared in rage. His constellation appeared as wind and thunder ravaged the area, sweeping towards Qin Wentian. In just an instant, Qin Wentian's surroundings were filled with destructive qi currents. But as long as it neared Qin Wentian's body, it would instantly be destroyed. Qin Wentian dragged the demon sword behind him. The demon sword shone resplendently, exuding a terrifying light. Attacks from constellations can't get close to me. The hearts of the crowd trembled. The third eye in the center of Qin Wentian's brows opened once more as a terrifying attack directly invaded his opponent's will. His eyes were filled with confusion, as though he was shuttling back and forth between two different dimensions. He gritted his teeth, not allowing himself to sink into that dreamscape. A beam of white light flashed by. After which, the beam of white light expanded in size, gleaming with a terrifying golden luster. The incomparably sharp fangs directly lunged towards the ascendant of the multidirectional Thunderwind sect, with the speed of lightning. Vile beast! That expert from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect blasted out with his palms. Terrifying wind and lightning diagrams could be seen on his palms, blasting forward. That beam of white light was actually an incomparably baleful demonic beast. Cracking sounds rang out as the wind and lightning palms were shattered. The sharp fangs continued biting towards his throat. Bzzz. At the same instant, Qin Wentian's demon sword arced through the air, piercing towards him. Everywhere it passed by, everything was destroyed. The countenance of that expert from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect drastically changed. His body soared up into the air, akin to a bolt of lightning. But at this moment, Qin Wentian's body transformed into numerous incarnations. With a howl of rage, countless palm imprints blasted out, directly enveloping the entire space, wanting to shatter everything. Those palm imprints transformed into millstones of destruction, akin to a tempest from the apocalypse. That expert from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect was in the center of this tempest. A look of terror could be seen on his face as he felt the destructive might gushing into his body. Die! Qin Wentian's palms pressed downwards. With a thunderous boom, motes of light shot out, destroying everything in that space. Only the light of destruction remained. Gulp. Someone swallowed a mouthful of saliva, trembling in fear. Too domineering, he was like a god of death. Whoever he walked towards, that person would die. That demonic beast landed on Qin Wentian's shoulder. It was actually that beautiful little demon. When it bared its fangs, it was actually so terrifying. The demon's sword returned. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over everyone again. Nobody dared to match his gaze. Seems like all of you still want to kill me. Qin Wentian chose another person and walked over. That person abruptly turned and shouted, "Qin Wentian, the grudge between us isn't that deep." Back then, it was the others who wanted to invite the Dark Shadow Sovereign to help us. I wasn't able to do so alone. From now onwards, I will no longer interfere in your matters. After speaking, that expert actually turned and departed, vanishing from sight very quickly. The countenance of the sure ancestor was extremely unsightly to behold. Earlier when Qin Wentian was dealing with the ascendant from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect, he should have gotten everyone to act together. However, humans are all selfish creatures. They wanted to see how much combat strength Qin Wentian had left, and they didn't dare to take the risk. Yet they discovered that they still couldn't see through Qin Wentian's strength. Their strength was continuously being weakened. Glancing at the lineup of both sides, he discovered that it was already extremely difficult to kill Qin Wentian. Since this is the case, we will come again to listen to your guidance during your grand wedding. The Shi ancestor drew in a deep breath. This time around, the morale of the people had already dissipated. He could only give up. As the sound of his voice faded, everyone sighed. However, they felt an indescribable sense of relief. They had been living a peaceful life for far too long. As transcendent characters, it was extremely rare for them to engage in combat. Yet now, Qin Wentian actually brought them a sense of impending doom. The pressure he exuded was so strong that it caused them to feel as though they were suffocating. The sound of wind gusted by, the Shi ancestor was the first to depart. His long robes fluttered in the wind as he sighed in his heart. If he missed this opportunity, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens if he wanted to kill Qin Wentian again. Wait until the day of Qin Wentian's grand wedding to mobilize all the ascendants of Grand Xia. After the Shi ancestor departed, the others also departed one after another. Very swiftly, all the invading experts were gone. The ascendants of the Jiang clan and Thousand Zhu alliance all had smiles on their faces. It seemed that their gamble had paid off. Staring at the young man wielding a sword who stood proudly in the air, they felt that they had truly aged. In the future, Grand Xia would belong to him. No, his future shouldn't be limited to just Grand Xia. Those from the Mo clan all returned. They had been observing from afar. Although they already admired Qin Wentian, they soon discovered that they had still underestimated Qin Wentian. These people were all the transcendent characters of Grand Xia. Even the Green Cloud Sovereign was a transcendent character from the Ginkgo continent. Even when facing these people, Qin Wentian was still so domineering and tyrannical. Qin Wentian nodded his head to the ascendants of the Jiang clan and Thousand Zhu alliance. On the day of my grand wedding, the Jiang clan and Thousand Zhu alliance can all be esteemed guests. It's good that sect leader Qin is safe. Smiles appeared on the faces of the four ascendants. It seemed like the unification of Grand Xia was inevitable. But who would be the one to control Grand Xia after the unification was a different matter altogether. I'm going back to recuperate. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. After which, he slowly walked back to the place he was at earlier and laid down. This scene caused a thought to appear in the minds of the ascendants of the Jiang clan and Thousand Zhu alliance. If those ascendants really didn't hesitate to fight to the death against Qin Wentian, what would the final ending be? Most probably, only Qin Wentian knew the answer. As for how serious his injuries were, nobody knew. The only thing the spectators could see was that he domineeringly killed two ascendants. Chapter 681. After the ascendants of Grand Xia left, the Mo residence was swiftly rebuilt. Fairy Qingmei and the other ascendants all stayed in the Mo residence. Other than them, the ascendants from the Jiang clan and Thousand Zhu alliance didn't leave the Mo residence. This way, they could prevent the ascendants of Grand Xia from making a move again. Secondly, they could improve their relationship with Qin Wentian. The only regretful thing was that Qin Wentian had been in closed-door seclusion. Only Mo Qingqing was by his side and knew of Qin Wentian's situation. As for the others, they knew nothing about Qin Wentian at all. They guessed that Qin Wentian's injuries must have been extremely heavy this time around. After suffering an assassination attempt by the Dark Shadow Sovereign, he disregarded his injuries and stood up to fight, scaring away the ascendants of Grand Xia. Such a battle record was enough to cause people to tremble in fear just thinking about it. No wonder those ascendants were intimidated by Qin Wentian and left unwillingly. They didn't dare to gamble with their lives. Time slowly flowed by, the date of Qin Wentian's wedding got closer and closer. The royal capital of Chu was in an uproar. The Emperor Chu Wuwei frequently came to the Mo residence to pay a visit. Qin Chuan did the same as well, discussing the details of the wedding. Finally, they unanimously decided to set the location of the wedding at the Emperor Star Academy, the sacred ground of Chu's Wuxiu, the place where Qin Wentian grew up. This was undoubtedly the most suitable location, and with regards to this, everyone in the Emperor Star Academy was naturally in agreement. In the Mo residence, Mou and Mo Feng were currently cultivating. Two ascendants from the Jiang clan sat beside them, and one of them laughed. Mo Feng, be more imposing. Treat the spear as your arm and control your strength according to your will, converging it to a single point. Mou, your swordplay is too flashy. You need to be sharper and more decisive. Old man Mo and the other elders of the Mo clan had smiles on their faces. During these days, the ascendants from the Jiang clan and Thousand Zhu alliance would frequently guide the juniors of the Mo residence in cultivation. Such a situation was simply something they didn't dare to imagine. These ascendants were all characters on the same level as the Green Cloud Sovereign, and they were famous even earlier. Now, they were actually guiding the juniors of the Mo residence in cultivation. Moreover, they were quite polite to them. Of course, the people of the Mo family were not muddle-headed. They knew that the other party was doing this because of Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was simply too domineering, so domineering that even the other ascendants feared him. And these ascendants also wanted to form a good relationship with Qin Wentian. This was why they had been protecting the Mo residence and guiding the people of the Mo residence. Old Master, is Grandmaster Qin awake yet? The day of the wedding is coming soon, right? Looking at Old Master Mo, the Old Master of the Jiang family chuckled out. Not yet, Qingqing is taking care of him. Since Qingqing didn't delay the wedding date, she naturally knows what to do. Old man Mo smiled. That's true. Madam Sect Master knows what she's doing. It's an old man like me who has spoken too much. The Jiang family's patriarch smiled and said, Ouyang and Jiang Ting are really too much. They haven't brought anyone over to help since the last time we visited. They are also newlyweds, they naturally have their own matters to attend to. Old man Mo laughed. He naturally knew who Ouyang Guangsheng and Jiang Ting were. Emichim, that's true. Speaking of which, this is all fate. Back then when they were young, they became good friends. Now, it has already been over 10 years, yet their relationship is still so good. How rare, how rare. The Jiang family's patriarch and Old Master Mo chatted about ordinary things, causing Old Master Mo to feel a little uncomfortable. It's fate indeed. Back then in the Moon Continent, Grandmaster Qin had already become a 4th-ranked Grandmaster before the age of 19. At that time, our Thousand Zhu alliance already knew that Grandmaster Qin was someone extraordinary, hence, we invited him to be our guest elder. An expert from the Thousand Zhu alliance laughed, his words causing the Jiang family's patriarch to glance at him with disdain. Stop bragging. At that time, you didn't even know Wentian, right? You speak as if you knew him. That expert from the Thousand Zhu alliance sneered. Upon seeing the two of them bickering, those from the Mo clan couldn't help but roll their eyes. Who? At this moment, the eyes of the experts from the Thousand Zhu alliance and Jiang clan abruptly gleamed with a terrifying coldness. They turned their gazes over as trepidation could be seen flickering in their eyes. There were actually several tyrannical auras sweeping over here. Extending their perception outwards, the countenances of the experts from the Thousand Zhu alliance and Jiang clan stiffened as looks of bewilderment appeared on their faces. After which, they soared up into the air, arriving in the airspace above the Mo residence. Not only for them, Fairy Qingmei and the others also did the same. Although the people of the Mo residence were slow in their reactions, they soon felt that something was amiss. There was a powerful aura that locked onto the Mo residence and was heading in their direction. The people of the Mo residence all soared up into the air. From afar, a group of female silhouettes flew over. They were like a group of celestial fairies, exuding an extraordinary aura. Not only that, many of them were extremely powerful. There are quite a few at the celestial phenomenon realm. The hearts of the Jiang clan's patriarch and the others trembled as they stared warily at the incoming group. Indeed, they stopped in the airspace above the Mo residence as their gazes turned towards a certain courtyard, causing the hearts of the crowd to grow even more nervous. Bzz. The silhouettes descended, moving in the direction of that courtyard. Hold it right there. Fairy Qingmei and the others called out. However, it was as though these silhouettes didn't hear anything. One of them even coldly glanced at Fairy Qingmei, causing her to feel a sense of trepidation. At this moment, a silhouette walked out from a room in the courtyard. It was none other than Mo Qingqing. The silhouettes of the female cultivators landed in the courtyard, standing in front of Mo Qingqing. This caused Fairy Qingmei and the others in the Mo residence to feel extremely nervous. These mysterious experts were simply too threatening. However, in the next instant, under the shocked gazes of the crowd, those female cultivators all bowed to Mo Qingqing as their voices rang out in unison. We pay our respects to the Holy Maiden. A row of experts dressed in the same robes bowed to Mo Qingqing. The impact of this scene to Fairy Qingmei, the experts from the Jiang clan and the Thousand Ju Alliance, as well as those from the Mo residence was extremely intense. All of them were instantly dumbfounded as their hearts pounded violently. They stared at Mo Qingqing only to see Mo Qingqing's calm and indifferent eyes sweeping over them. At this moment, only then did they truly understand the aura Mo Qingqing exuded. What was laughable was that they were still puzzled as to why Mo Qingqing didn't feel any fear in her heart when she saw celestial phenomenon ascendants. Celestial phenomenon ascendants? Most probably, even Mo Qingqing's subordinates would be able to sweep through Grand Xiao. While the experts from the Jiang clan and Thousand Ju Alliance were shocked, their hearts were also filled with wild joy. They knew that the situation in Grand Xiao was already determined. It was laughable that those people still joined forces to deal with Qin Wentian. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin Wentian was careless and didn't expect the Dark Shadow Sovereign to act, they would only need to wait for a few more days and they would be able to easily sweep through Grand Xiao. When will Master arrive? Mo Qingqing stared at the experts as she asked. The Medicine Sovereign and the others should arrive on time for the celebration. He told us to come here first. Holy Maiden, if you have any matters, you can instruct us to do it. The person in the lead replied. Right. Mo Qingqing nodded. After which, she turned to Fairy Qingmei and the others. If Fairy Qingmei is free, you can bring them to Grand Xiao. Before the date of the wedding, send the invitations to all the transcendent powers in Grand Xiao, not missing a single one. This is also Wentian's intention. Right. Fairy Qingmei nodded, her heart was extremely restless. She knew that the situation in Grand Xiao was already determined. There were no more variables. You stay behind. Mo Qingqing stared at the woman in the lead. Yes, Holy Maiden. That person nodded. After which, Fairy Qingmei, Old Xing and the other ascendants from the Azure Emperor Palace led the experts from the Medicine Sovereign Valley and split into 3 groups, heading towards the 9 continents of Grand Xiao. Mo Qingqing turned and walked towards her room. Qin Wentian sat up and opened his eyes. He smiled at Mo Qingqing, my wife is getting more and more imposing. Mo Qingqing rolled her eyes at Qin Wentian. After which, she sat down beside Qin Wentian and took out a medicinal pill, feeding it to Qin Wentian. Eating again. Qin Wentian had a bitter expression on his face. These few days, he was already sick of eating medicinal pills. Mo Qingqing made him eat over 10 different types of medicinal pills every single day. Do you want to eat or not? Mo Qingqing pouted. Staring at the adorable look on Mo Qingqing's face, Qin Wentian gently caressed her cheeks as he smiled, okay, eat. I'm afraid that if I continue to nourish myself like this, wouldn't it be too much? After speaking, he swallowed the medicinal pill that Mo Qingqing personally fed him, as an expression of enjoyment could be seen on his face. It's not like you don't know that the medicinal pills I concocted for you are all nourishing pills that allow you to calm your qi and spirit, nourish your blood and meridians, as well as heal your injuries and bones. They will only help you to gradually recover from the overload you've suffered this time around. Next time, don't be so impulsive. Mo Qingqing gently spoke. I know. Qin Wentian hugged Mo Qingqing's soft body, allowing her to lie on his lap. He gently stroked her hair as he smiled, Qingqing, I'm going to marry you soon. It's not too late for you to regret now. I've already regretted it for over 10 years. Since I've boarded your pirate ship, there's no way for me to escape. Mo Qingqing gently spoke as she quietly laid there. During this period of time, although Qin Wentian was heavily injured, he also had a rare period of peace and quiet. So it turns out that I'm a pirate ship. Do you want to taste my devil claws? Qin Wentian's hands became restless, causing Mo Qingqing's face to turn red. She glared at Qin Wentian with her charming eyes, yet there was a feeling of ecstasy in her heart. On the second day, more people arrived at the Mo residence. All of them exuded an extraordinary aura, but this time around, the people of the Mo residence were already mentally prepared. After asking around, they learned that these people were here for Qin Wentian. After which, everyone mused in their hearts. Yesterday, it was Mo Qingqing's sect. Today, was it Qin Wentian's sect? Qin Wentian wore a simple white robe as he walked out. This was the first time he walked out of his room during this period of time. Staring at the figures who arrived, a warm smile appeared in Qin Wentian's eyes. Senior Lin Shuai, Senior Fei Xue, Sis Ling Shuang, you guys are all here. Qin Wentian smiled at the group of people who arrived. These were all his good friends from the Battle Sword sect. He nodded to them, and when he saw Lu Bingyu, a look of bewilderment flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect that Lu Bingyu would actually come here. Wentian, what's wrong? Why do you seem so weak? Lin Shuai stared at Qin Wentian in bewilderment. Nothing much, I'm just a little fatigued. Senior brother, there's no need to worry. Qin Wentian smiled. The people at the side silently mused that they were right. Seems like the people from Qin Wentian's sect have arrived. All of them exuded an extraordinary aura, especially that young man whom Qin Wentian referred to as senior brother Lin Shuai. Earlier, when the Jiang ancestor locked gazes with him, he could clearly sense the sharpness in his eyes. Although this young man was very young, he was definitely extremely terrifying. He wasn't someone the Jiang ancestor could fight against. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.